phenomenal.
それでは早速全速前進
You wanna know what the weak point of a mech is? The fucking pilot.
Get away from her, you bitch!
His papers say he was a raven.
Protocol 3.
A pattern blue!
Welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants, a giant robot power hour discussing mechs across media, their stories, and why we love them. I'm Alice, and I'm joined by Brian.
Hey guys, it's me, Simone de Beauvoir. I just wanted to come on Periscope and say no one is more arrogant toward women, more aggressive, or more scornful than the man who is anxious about his virility power. To the Phoenix ladies, bye.
And Nico.
I just want to say thank you for saying my dragon was of a commendable size.
This time around, we're discussing how Wu Zetian is the strangest priced whore you've ever met, and her price? The revolution of the working class. Let's launch into it! Oh wait, I forgot. Heavenly Tyrant Part 2! Let's launch into it!
Having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. Having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card.
We should clarify that was a book quote. Like,
Yeah, that was not a value judgment
that was not
from
like
Alice.
us. That was not like us derogatorily using the word whore.
Oh man, so many quotable quotes in this second
There's
half.
a lot of good ones.
I have one that I am putting a full I wanted to say tariff, but that's actually not the word that I meant. Embargo. I'm embargo on it because we need to. It's towards the very, very end, and I think we all know what we're talking about. And we can't talk about it until we get there. Anyway,
This is part 2 of our coverage of Heavenly Tyrant by Zhao. If you don't know what we're talking about, why are you in a part 2 and not the part 1? Okay.
What are you, some kind of pervert?
Check out part 1 if you want any of the production notes, but the short of it is that the modern publishing apparatus sucks for authors, but despite that, Zhao gifted this to us. The second book out of 3, and a wonderful romp through a socialist revolution with giant mecha. We're going to be picking up where we left off at chapter 27.
Mm-hmm.
How are we all feeling going into part 2? It's exciting.
I have what might be considered a hot take. The last quarter of this book fell apart for me in a way that is like I'm a little bit devastated.
Yeah.
And so I ended up to rehash the thing I talked about last time. I ended up giving this book a pretty low rating on the story graph because of how finally and summarily the last part of this book fell off for me. We'll talk about it when we get there. I just want to say, for the most part, like 3/4, I think this is a 5-star read. I'm very excited to talk about it. My energy at the very beginning is still my energy. I just wanted to say that's coming. There's a dark shadow on the horizon.
Yeah. This is a book series that for me, so this book in particular, to not do anything spoilery, but just to make a broad statement, this book is speed running the entire history of 20th century leftist movements. Just all of them internationally. We're doing China, but we're also doing South America, but we're also doing the Soviet Union, but we're also doing all of them. And you really feel it at certain points, but also this, I brought it up last episode, Brian. I brought up the Trader Brew Cormorant, and I brought up those books. And I've been thinking about those books because those books do a lot of this like revolution tied into personal narrative, tied into metaphysics, tied into those books are I feel like a very similar like spiritual cohort, right? Those books are fucking huge. Those are Stephen King doorstopper motherfucking paperbacks. And these books are trying to do the same shit. And this is like the thickest one yet. And it's like 100 more pages than the last one. And I feel like, Brian, your issues with the last quarter, I feel like so much of the way that this book is constructed and the places people may struggle comes down to Xiran Zhao still needs to be allowed to go apeshit. They have gotten to go more apeshit. They have not yet gotten to go full apeshit in a way that would make the books, I think, feel more cohesive. Anyway,
Totally.
That's what I'll say.
Logging on as a staunch defender for the last third of this book, I am only going to have great things to say about this, even though I know there are a lot of problems with it, but that's why I'm here.
I love that, and I was hoping for it, and I am glad to have someone who is. And to be clear, like, I'm not like, oh, it ruined the whole thing, and like I'm not going to just be like a huge hater. I'm just there's a tragedy to me.
I think I have a thought on it, and I think where I'm coming from is I don't blame Xiran Zhao, and I never will.
And I have some. Well, so it's constructive feedback, I think. Are we just jumping right into it, or is there?
Do we want to have a summary of part 2?
Oh, a summary.
So, for those at home, we're already deep into spoilers. Again, this is part 2. What are you doing here? We'll wait if you need to read.
Technically, it's like part 4 of the series. Like, you cannot be showing up here right now. I need you to take your plate of enchiladas, and I need you to take your ginger ale, and I need you to back up a few episodes. I love you. Thank you for being here. I wish I had enchiladas and ginger ale. Go back.
These 4 episodes are a buffet line. You skipped the enchiladas and you went straight to like the individually wrapped cookies at the end, which is just like, who does that? And also,
what buffet?
You didn't even get a plate or anything. So like any of the food that you did get, you would have just had to like palm out of the chafing dishes. Like, I don't really.
I'm so hungry.
I'm mostly upset that you said enchiladas because it's obviously a Chinese buffet.
You can have enchiladas in ancient China. You're allowed.
You're allowed. Also, I don't know if you guys have been to those places that are called like China Skies or whatever, and they fully have fried chicken pizza and sometimes enchiladas there. Do you know?
Yeah, I'm at that part of the buffet for some reason.
That's the kind of buffet that we are.
So what happened in part 2?
No, shut up for just a second. I need to say something deeply important.
I need to say something.
No, I need to say something. It's my turn to be the Alice of the podcast. I need to say something deeply important.
Okay.
Which is that in the town I used to live in, there was like a famous Pan-Asian buffet, but it was mostly famous because it had really, really cheap shellfish. Like you could go there and just get a heap of like crawfish and like lobster and like all sorts of stuff. Like that was where everyone would go if you just wanted to like have a fucking time and go to town on like 500 sea creatures. Everything in this beautiful world was there. It had a sushi like whole row. It had a Mongolian grill. It had a pho area. It had everything. It was everything. It was beautiful. It had tickets that you had to buy to it. It was huge and crazy. And I just want to say, I'm glad that in the nation that the emperor re-envisioned, the richest of the rich were attacked first, like textually, canonically. And so like your upper middle class business owners, such as people who would have been running this insane buffet, were left unaffected. Because I gotta tell you, after a long day out in your yellow sash doing the revolution, I would fuck up a huge plate of lobster. I'm just gonna be real.
You're so hungry. That was such a long journey. I feel like I just sat and watched you eat a whole lobster while I just sat there and had water.
I didn't think it was going to be a problem for me not to eat. Now it's becoming a through line. Hey, Alice, what happened to this book?
Alice,
why are you
please,
putting off
I'm
telling us
begging.
about this?
I also have a buffet story. What the fuck are we doing here?
Save me, please.
The revolution of Huasha is going full steam ahead, but reactionaries sow division between people through appealing to a return to pre-Wu Zetian Huasha. While Xinjiang has to remain quarantined, Wu Zetian goes about supporting the Han Front and supporting the revolution. Oh, and also stealthily planning to launch the Yellow Dragon to intercept the Heavenly Court above. In between learning how to manipulate spirit metal, starting a female-led militia, learning to read and write, your girl Wu Zetian also manages to become estranged to Yiji and get into a heated relationship with Xinjiang. The revolution is threatened in its crib. Bad actors and sabotage lead to a rebellion of the Han province. Between beating that down and having to deal with a forced surrogacy, and also dealing with Qingjing, Wu Zetian starts to crack. The machinations of Yi Ji unfurl, and gods get involved, and the assault on the Heavenly Court is launched. We also find out that the gods in the Heavenly Court are, and spoiler, they fucking suck, are humans. After an action-packed series of events, I'm sorry.
They're white humans.
We can't talk about it yet.
They have blue hair and pronouns.
They do.
After an action-packed series of events, the Heavenly Court is destroyed once and for all. But we set ourselves up for a confrontation in 6 months' time. The whole operation to destroy the Heavenly Court honestly goes pretty well, but it leads to a pretty messy breakup with Wu Zetian and Qingjing. But she ends up getting back with her two partners with the real big asterisk at the end. We'll get into it. Let's head to the break.
Hey, it's Brian in the break Brian, if you will. Just here to put in a few quick reminders. Firstly, this isn't a visual medium, but we are often discussing visual content. So Alice actually painstakingly puts together a bunch of images on our website for each episode. You should check those out. Secondly, we have a Ko-Fi now. That's ko-fi/OSG pod. So if you are like me and you often find yourself standing in the middle of a field with $1 and nowhere to put it, you can give us that $1 with the power of the internet. We just met a goal that will allow us to do a live Ghost in the Shell 2017 drunken commentary track. And that was because you all supported us enough to get Nico a vital network infrastructure upgrade that's going to make recording easier. It's going to let her get into the streams that I do every Sunday, which brings me to my next thing. OSG has a Twitch. It is twitch.tv/OSG_pod. I am on there every Sunday. Alice is occasionally on during like a Tuesday, but I am there every Sunday, and right now I'm doing a bunch of Cyberpunk games. Only other thing, I know I'm talking your ear off, the one last thing I wanted to say, because I get to record this like 2 days, actually the day before this episode drops. We were on an actual play podcast called Follow the Leader, who you might remember as having guested on our Random Access Histories episode last fall. The three of us and FTL's August and Mac played the GM-less tabletop mecha game Spectres of Brocken together. I don't know how many parts it's going to turn out to be. We've only recorded half the story so far, so really keep an eye out on the FTL feed. You should have followed them anyway from when they guested on our Random Access Histories coverage last fall. And I will finally shut up so you can get back to the show.
I think up top, I think what we have to say about right now is that on page 284, the Yuri kiss happens. And I just want to put that at the top of this because it's the highlight for me.
Yeah!
But
damn!
So, like Nico did before, I broke this into a couple of different parts. So I'm going to call this basically up through the typhoon, then the reactionaries, and then the assault on the Heavenly Court. Kind of an easy little breakdown into it. This is the second half of part 2 of A Heavenly Tyrant and the full part 3. Just want to say off the top, chapter titles are still slapping, guys. I'm paying more attention to them now, and they're great.
Yeah, they are really good.
All right, so as we go in, we're going to go chapters 27 through 31 for those following at home. Wu Zetian starts to train on Li Shimin's spirit pressure, and the revolution ramps up in intensity and cruelty. A super typhoon approaches the Han frontier, and the Great Wall is breached, only to be stopped by the Iron Widows. So, super typhoons. This was neat.
I'm glad we have global warming on the fantasy world.
There's the question also to which, I feel like the implication is that the gods kind of like whipped up the typhoon, or at least because they're like, hey, there's a typhoon coming.
They do.
They have chemtrails.
Points with one hand while like slowly putting salt on your fields with the other. Look at the typhoon.
Oh my god.
I just want to say, I think we happen to cut the book in half at a really good spot because there's a lot of like thematic things that begin to escalate extremely quickly. One of my first notes for this section is that people closer and closer to Zetian are being implicated in this what are they called? The households watching each other policy.
Oh yeah, the every 5 households thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the questions of like, hey, wait, is this fascism? Are like boiling at this point. like Nero's eyes. I smell fascism.
Hey, are we the
Sniffs
baddies?
fingers. Is that fascism on my fingers? What did I step in?
The Guebu are like the major part. Like I said, we are speedrunning all of the history of socialism. Like, if you want to talk about the Stasi, the KGB, the secret police in China, everything, it's all here in the Guebu. But like, we're all doing it.
All the high notes. Wait a minute.
And the other thing that's happening is the Guebu, what eventually becomes of like the Iron Widows, and then the politicking side of it, the Phoenix thing. We're getting factions already.
Yeah. Factionalism is happening in a huge way.
And it's like, this stuff is working really, really well for me. I think this is really efficient. I think we can see plainly what's happening here. But yeah,
it's done in a really cool way. The factionalization of them all. I really like it. I do want to immediately jump into a quote because I had to pull it up immediately. So we're in the middle of the rapid fire chapters is where we cut off, and we get some more rapid fire chapters later, but this is kind of the heaviest lifting of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I literally just had to go through my notes and everything. I was eating a
Oh my God,
sandwich.
imagine having to read your notes.
That's hard enough. Alice already had to read the book. Like, this is 2 times the reading. No, I will say I have a
Secret
first note
math.
here. Oh, yes.
Cannot tell you what for. Life danger. Secret math got me, guys.
Secret
I was
math.
screaming.
Secret math
she's
is
such
so good.
secret math. She's such incredible math.
She's such incredible secret math.
Why do we still have it?
I'm never getting rid of it.
My first note just says the Emperor's Instapot is killing me, which I forget where that exactly is, but at
Well,
one
he has
point...
a pressure cooker, and he's obsessed
at one point, the
with
Emperor
it.
discloses that he gets tired of having to ask for everything through his little bubble boy situation. So he had them come install like a little kitchen, and he makes like a chi restoring soup in there. But he like specifically makes a comment about how good pressure cookers are, and I could just imagine him in his full armor with a little scoop, standing up at the Instapot.
Another thing
Anyway.
that's kind of that's starting to peak in this plot that's going to kind of stand up later is last episode on Heavenly Tyrant, we were talking about how Yija is kind of like a Baru Cormorant, kind of like an Otacon type situation. Like that's kind of been his oscillating. I mean,
It all
he's
pops.
Ocelot, actually, is what he is.
He's Ocelot!
He's literally Ocelot.
He's
is what
literally
he is.
just as Revolver Ocelot.
Yeah.
He's playing every side. He is every button. Yiji in this, okay, here's what I'll say about the second half. I was not liking what was his character arc, and I kind of knew what was going to happen with he's pulling strings, but I really feel like it's earned, sort of, kind of.
I disagree. The stuff that ends up happening with Yija in the last bit is so weightless to me.
Again, I feel like for all that these books are trying to do, they needed another 200 pages, and that's just not something that Xiran was going to get. And I hate it. Like,
I also just think this book probably just should have just ended 200, or not 200, but like 100 pages. We should have gotten all of the Heavenly Court stuff in a new book.
It should have ended with the Azure Dragon fight. That is my honest opinion, is the revolution is solidified. And then the last book is the Heavenly Court fight.
I would have loved. Okay, I'm just gonna talk about this now. Here's my script
We've
doctoring.
got to. We just read
I would have loved Crash into the Heavenly Court. That's when we see Terminator Shaman, and that's when the book ends.
yeah, honestly,
Okay, that would've
I
been
could have
great.
gone for that. Yeah.
Okay. I like that read. Basically, to do the calculations, we have to get typing because she is smart. She do
The
math
dyke of
good.
all time.
Dyke of all time. Also, okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to love with you. Sidebar of all this. I didn't look at any of the memes or art before I read the book because I wanted the visual in my mind.
Okay.
And so after I read the book, I went in to see, do they match what they look in my mind? And y'all, she actually kind of cute. She's got that kind of like court person who's just like hot, like Korean K-pop boy vibes, where it's like, you're not aggressively masc, but not femme.
It's very funny because I think that this is an interesting place for us to talk about like what it means to be butch or femme in a different culture. Because I think like we are acclimatized to a Western view of what is butch and what is femme, what is feminine and what is masculine. And that's something that Iju already challenges with like a scholarly masculinity. And I think it's interesting, like a lot of the art that Xiran commissions is from either Chinese like manhwa artists or like other people who are like online that they are commissioning to do this stuff. So I think it's interesting. It's operating in a cultural genre space that is presenting different types of like masculinity and femininity than we're used to seeing in the West, which is really funny. Because I also had a thing where I'm like, oh, this is butch, and I'm like, no, this is butch. Culturally, this is a different butchness that I'm used to, which is really cool. Also, all of the memes are really good.
Every meme is perfect. That is my one note, is read every meme. Okay, so, but she takes her down into the Warring Era's tunnels that they've been using to hide from listening, and she isn't talking down there because they don't know if they can actually be listened to, so they're just, like, writing on paper, and Wan Er is brought down too, and just to say it, the two get in a tuffle. Wu Zetian is like, I gotta give him space, and one wall slams the other, and they kiss, and I was happy with the book at that point. I could have died. So,
yeah, Alice is like, I got my Yuri moment, forget the rest of this book.
But I also love that another thing we get here is Wan Er has started double annotating everything that the Emperor is sending to Wu Zetian, and also that as she goes to the typhoon, I love the relationship that starts to evolve with Qingjing and Wu Zetian at a distance. I wrote down here, toxic texting boyfriend much, because he's like, what are you doing? Hey, are you on the Han frontier? I know you can see these messages. Have your lady servant send me a reply. Hey, what's up? Thinking about you.
She tries to leave him on red and he won't shut the fuck up, which is the funniest possible. The series of events that happens from this point, as far as like disastrous political consequences, a whole bunch of shit happens, and when she gets home, the first thing he says is, you didn't reply. Which is very funny to me. He was like, you left me on red.
And it's funny too because he won't use the phone. He makes Yizha do it. So it's like it kind of has the energy of like, what should I say to my girl? What should I say to my GF? And it's like them both like one over the shoulder, and they're both arguing over what to say. It gives that kind of energy, even
this
though I know it's
communication
just
is so fucked. There's a very funny moment where Zetian is like, or Wanar is like, I can reply to him, like, don't worry about it. And Zetian's like, no, well, just make sure you're not like too flattering, because then he'll know it's not me. And then she goes, wait, he can access my memories, he'll know it's not me anyway, just leave him on red. There's like 500 levels of communication here between the Emperor to Iju to Wanar, who is told not to do it because Zetian is like, he's gonna see it in my dreams that I didn't text him.
There's like a short scene where she's at the Iron Widow barracks, and Lu Che, like the pilot of the Azure Dragon, like tries to come up and apologize, and she's just like, ew.
It's so good.
It's sad considering what happens later. Like,
Is it?
Bruh, we have to remember this kid's like 13, right?
he's 14. His partner is 13. Like, they are really just, they're operating on ideology alone, and it is really kind of sad, you know?
It's sad. So I do want to say that we see something evolving here that I want to kind of touch on, which is in the first book, Wu Zetian only had her partners to rely on, and in this book, she finally has community, which like
she has a girl squad.
She has the girl squad, so I just want to say that hanging out with Wanar, Taiping, and Chulo would be the best, and throw in some Direnji. Throw them in there. Like, every time they're hanging out, I'm like, these guys are just having a fun time. I love
like
Girl
how
Squad.
I like how Direnji's like, the enforcement restrictions in the police are like way too broad, and everyone else is in the corner like, what if I took you to the lesbian bar?
What if I took you to the club?
They should be at the club.
Yeah, all of these people should have been at the club.
For Xiran Zhao, you called it Club Lily? That is too easy. That is too simple. Club Peach? Come on. But
Okay, no, the split peach is so fucking funny because she tries to, like, she describes it as like a masculine bar where guys are doing jello shots off each other for like the revolution, which is the funniest possible vibe I can imagine for her trying to like conceive of a gay bar.
Well, I feel like it's a Call Me By Your Name reference, but
I think you're right. Now that you pointed it out, I'm going to think about that.
which is gross, but you know, whatever.
I like how we explore Wu Zetian, not because she always worries about gaining things that can be used against her. It's kind of a narrative drum that she beats as a character. But now she has like this group around her that while she's not like, how do I say this? Like when Wan Air gets arrested, she's not like, I'm going to kill the Palace of Sages for this. She starts to use moderation because she doesn't have. Okay. Brian's looking at me. Okay.
Well, you're right, which is what she ultimately does. But there's like every other paragraph, she's like, should I just crush everyone again? Like literally word for word, she's like, should I just crush everyone again?
Constant struggle. Me when I'm wielding power.
It's fucking Gundam Wing Hero. Like, should I self-destruct the Gundam Wing today? It's Tuesday.
Zetian has had to do a lot of fucking consciousness raising really fucking quickly in the middle of. This is what I mean by, like, this is a narrative that is about a revolution in a land that has been colonized by people from fucking outer space, dealing with a mech battle for their lives against an alien threat, which is actually an indigenous resistance, plus communism, all of the history of communism in the 20th century. And there's a whole interpersonal and romance plot happening on top of all of this. And sometimes it weaves together well, and sometimes it doesn't weave together well. And it's hard when I ran into a couple of places, Brian, where you were like, yeah, like when a lot of this, like, work of working on the revolution, like refining the revolution, the Phoenix ladies, like the whole bit where she consolidates a whole bunch of nonprofits to build a power base that's disconnected from the state, to like do like all of that stuff will be taking along and be really interesting, and then it's like it'll T-bone into the interpersonal plot sometimes. And I feel like it's the same way. The interpersonal plot will be like going, like the fucking toxic relationship between Zetian and Qingzhen will be going, and then it will like T-bone against, we have to continue with the plot of the actual book. Like,
and I think, so thinking about your thoughts there, I think when I think of that, I'm like, is this a problem of it being from Wu Zetian's perspective? She's being pulled in multiple directions. She's being yanked from threads, thrown here, thrown there. But then I also, I do agree with you entirely that it does feel like a T-bone crash. Like you're just suddenly, there was, and even to the point where there was a moment later on when when Zetian and Cheng are about to do the deed, and he like taps her fake pregnancy belly, and they make some like offhand joke about my son, and it's funny, but I'm also like, fuck, I forgot the surrogacy plot was happening because it just like has been not around for so long, and it's just one of many things I'm having to juggle. Is like, is this a plot that matters?
yeah, it's tough. It's one of those things where it's like, I was thinking a lot about, not to be a leftist about this, I was thinking a lot about the material conditions that we know that this book was produced under, which were pretty difficult for the author. And I was thinking about, like, I keep bringing up Seth Dickinson in this. Seth Dickinson is just like a white guy and like doing pretty well for himself. And I think he's a great guy and a great author, but like we're seeing a lot of differences in what book deals are being offered to them, what word counts are being offered to them, what opportunities are being offered to them versus what other people are able to secure. And I think that there is a boldness in how much is happening in these books that it's like, I have to appreciate how much is here to unpack, even while I am sometimes frustrated by that friction that I'm running into.
Totally. And I mean, there's from a writerly standpoint, another thing too about this, the Seth Dickinson distinction is like, I think in the cultural moment, and like if you're a publisher and you're looking at this from a business angle, which to be clear, I think is gross. You're gonna look at the guy who's giving you like a low fantasy economic intrigue book that's like expansive, like Wheel of Time flavored, like this is going to be like a really big thing, and that shit is hitting right now, right? Whereas if someone comes and says, I want to write a novel, and everything that I have had produced about it is anime, and like this is 70% anime podcast. I'm not diminishing anime as an art form, but I think pop culture does in terms of like what you're allowed to do if you've decided you're in this genre space. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's something I run up against a lot, right? I've said that a lot about Standalone Complex. I keep being like surprised by the ideas it's grappling with, as if anime is a genre that cannot grapple with big ideas. And I feel like that's like a reflection of a bias that is bigger in other spheres that you're pointing to, which is that like people have this expectation that ideas that have giant robots in them, or ideas that have like anime flavoring to them, cannot also tackle this stuff. And so, yeah, if there isn't faith in what you can pull off, then you're not going to be offered the same leeway and abilities and resources. So, yeah, I think that's a really good point to bring up.
What I always think about is Hunger Games, right? Like Hunger Games, that author didn't, that was her like thing, right? Like, but it's framed in a white Eurocentric view that is easy for audiences to swallow. And it's an easy sign off, right? Like it's why you see so many things in modern YA spaces attributed to the Hunger Games or inspired by it, because it's a formula that works. And unfortunately, with the way that all media is now, the safe bet is what you go for, right? You don't take a chance, you don't. And I mean, it's a hard sell when you think of this book, like female Asian lead. You lost most publishers immediately, right? Like, but you know what else is a surprise strike? The Hundun's hitting this wall. Oh my God! The alarm doesn't go off in the watchtower, and suddenly Hunduns are at the wall. Wu Zetian is surprised, and she has to jump to action. I thought this whole fight is pretty interesting. Basically, she's sabotaged. She can't get out there fast enough. She is struggling between a swarm of smaller Hunduns and Prince class and trying to navigate that. And they're obviously just trying to break the Great Wall. And I thought this was cool. But what's the best part? The plum bosom deer. Plum bosom.
That's a really difficult one to say. The plum bosom. No, the plum blossom deer is a really cool debut. Like, this is one we alluded to last episode because there's art in the front of the book, so we talked about it. I think it's interesting. There's like a weird, funny moment of like, why'd you make your mech feminine, girly? Sort of energy that Zetian levels against the pilot, so which was funny.
When the Iron Widows are meeting, I think this is cool. So, I mean, we can't get into every example of them exploring what femininity means, because this book does a lot of that. But this one in particular, when she's sitting with the Iron Widows, they're kind of dunking on Huan for her having like pink accents on her spirit armor and plum blossoms coming off, and her color coding is so feminine, and she's just like, I didn't choose it because it's feminine. I chose it. That's what I manifested. That's what I wanted, and that's okay.
It's really funny because it's like, I think it, like you said, it alludes to conversations that I think happen in feminist spaces about presentation. And I think we've gone backwards in a lot of ways on these to like people are asserting that like choosing to wear makeup is like feminist. And I understand why there has been that pushback to it. But then it also feels like we've lost a lot of ground as gender essentialism has become like the major conversational topic that's happening. But I do think it's funny because it's like, I think like between Taiping, Wanar, the Iron Widows, the new Iron Widows, and Wu Zetian having to evaluate her position, and especially the stuff we're about to see about the launch of the fake pregnancy scheme, I think for the first time Zetian is having to reckon a lot with feminine presentation and what it means to present according to gender roles or against gender roles in a way that's like come to this really interesting place, because in the last section she had this like ghost interaction with her older sister, Rui, where her older sister was like, only 3% of people in the entire world have like chrysalis capable spirit pressures. Sometimes women do just want to be housewives. And I feel like Zetian is continuing to reckon with this idea that like she is idolizing the pilot of the three-legged crow who has this kind of bad bitch energy. But but that's not what all women are looking for, and it's not necessarily intentional. It may just be if you're reaching for a cultural idea, you're going to see different cultural ideas pulled out, especially if the pilots who are getting to mold chrysalises now are not uniformly men, which is interesting. I like the weird little hinted discourse that happens around the Plum Blossom.
I agree. I like this dimension to Zetian's character, and now that she has all this power and she's like learning how to wield it, one thing that I just find like really interesting and like ultimately commendable about her character is that she's very interested in the consequences, and she's very interested in the responsibilities that come with the decisions that she's making, right? And actually in this section, she has a quote. It's actually after the fight, but she says, Yu Huan is in this position because I wanted powerful supporters so badly that I brought about her conscription. When she has no choice but to fight, I cannot let her become like me, forever bogged down in battle by the truth.
I loved that. Yeah.
I think when the Huanduan stuff is doing its best work is when we remember that the Huanduans are not a environmental threat. They are another faction.
Yeah.
Like, they are an indigenous resistance faction to a revolution, to a capitalist occupying regime that has colonized their planet. And I think that sometimes it's easy to lose sight of it, but when we reframe it that way, I think it hits more.
See, and to me, and maybe it's just me being poisoned by knowledge in terms of like the wider spectrum
haunting us.
The spectrum of like storytelling about colonialism, but I feel like I was guaranteed something with the Huanduans in terms of them being a deciding factor in like the huge astrological decisions that are made at the end of this book. They're just not at all.
Yeah, I feel like they are they're really missing. Not to get into fine grain details, I feel like they are really missing at the end of this book. And also, I feel like that they are missing because I guess they are going to be a huge part of the third book. But it's difficult to be like, well, I'm not going to worry about this factor because surely it must be addressed in a book that is not yet written. And the book is not written, so we can't like say that, oh, it'll be handled then. Like, we don't know in this real way. So
I think it's because that arc we got a lot of in the first book, and in this one we get the scene of her underwater sensing them, and that's kind of the most progress we make on that topic. I mean, okay. The trailer for Avatar Fire and Ash dropped recently to time when they're recording
You know
this.
what? It's allowed. I took a whole thing about lobster. You're welcome.
I've been thinking a lot about Avatar, of which and again, for listeners, I'm not talking about the anime. I'm talking about James Cameron's sci-fi epic Avatar. So I think the obvious play is that the Hunduns are gonna join up with the humans and fight off the people coming, right? Like, that's what's gonna happen. But like, we have really yet to get much, like, and it also feels regressive in its take on it, kind of like how Avatar 2, The Way of Water, felt regressive with its take on the Na'vi, right? So we actually had like conversations with some of the prince classes in the first one, and in this one it's just like they swirled around me and somebody came and stabbed them, and then
I felt really bad when I like slaughtered them by the thousands.
And the new pilot, she felt bad killing them, but you know what she felt worse about? Her human co-pilot dying. Also, I love that. I loved Wu Zetian having to deal with like, oh yeah, I guess some people might be sad if men die. Huh, that's weird. Not me.
Well, yeah, I really liked that moment where she has to console her because, yeah.
That's where that quote came from. That was that moment.
That whole section is just great.
I think the important distinction there, right, is that this was not a concubine conscription. This person enlisted and understood what they were signing up for in a way that, like Zetian did not when she was first inducted into this system,
or like
right?
Zetian knew, but Ruyi didn't.
Right.
Like,
yes. Sorry.
yeah.
Yes.
No, but also I feel like this is also Zetian having to grapple with the fact that all of this is coerced. Even if the male pilots this time did volunteer, even if like it's cool that the female pilots are conscripted, this pilot has been put in a position to take a human life that she never would have been in otherwise. and she is grappling with it in a very human way, in a way that Zetian didn't really have the space to do. Because, like, when she killed Yangwan, like, she had been waiting to do that for so long, it was a different emotional valence than, like, when this pilot loses her co-pilot, and then later when we lose, I think it's Dizientier, I think so, is when she loses him, and realizes, like, there's a line that just kills me later in that section where she goes, oh, I made him the spirit armor as I was exiting, and then she realizes later that he was dead the moment she disconnected. Like, that fucked me up.
So, okay, I want to ask something, and this isn't me trying to find a plot hole in this book because so much happens in it, but I do have to ask, in Changing's time, did they not figure out how to try and pair pilots together so one wouldn't die? I mean, now that they are doing both genders, you think, like, I know there's only a certain amount of balanced pairs, right? But, like, there were unbalanced pairs. Could they assign one of those high spirit pressure men to this girl so that they don't die? Like, I guess I wish they would have explored how can we ethically do this, but it's not a conversation.
I think you're right. I think the other thing is, like, it's been like a month. And so, like, they just have not had the time to work out the logistics of, like, how do we optimize these matches? Like, the Typhoon, unfortunately, did not wait for the spreadsheet. You know what I mean?
And yeah, and also one thing we know is that, like, there are balanced matches right now which are not actually balanced because the yin seat is still improperly calibrated, right? And so, like, I do think you're right. I do think that there could have been situations where they could have pulled these pilots apart, even ones in balanced matches, gotten their actual spirit pressure measurements and matched them better. But I think a lot of it was, it's alluded to a couple of times that, like, trying to get male pilots to pilot with other male pilots because they have comparable spirit pressures is just not going to work because there's this, like, gender and sexual valence to piloting and co-piloting that they don't have time to deal with right now. And so it's mentioned that it's like, they could have gotten more balanced matches probably if they had gotten people of the same gender to pilot together, and that just is not a thing they're ready to jump yet, right?
So you're a gay balanced pair. Who sits in the yin seat and who sits in the yang seat?
I think it has to be vibes based, right? Like, who's feeling more yin, who's feeling more yang?
I was doing a top. I was doing a top and bottom joke.
I know,
like
that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
it's not that black and white.
Everyone's a switch.
Yeah, everyone's a switch
in Washa.
Other things I want to note. Hey guys, the first civilian killed by a Huandan.
Is that true?
Yeah, first non-soldier.
Like ever?
In the books. Like, so they breach the wall and Hundans get through and they find a girl under rubble. And that's the first on-screen civilian kill by a Hundan.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just a neat note that it happened halfway through everything.
On Zetian's watch.
That's right. I also just wrote down here that in response to the pregnancy, Wu Zetian does comment that she has to commit to the mom bit. And I thought that was a great line.
Yeah, we should talk about what's going on in the palace now.
Yeah.
So, Chin Jung is down bad A. Ija is down and out B. I loved this turn in Ija's and Zetian's relationship because at this point I was thinking, so what we find out is there's a fake pregnancy which turns out to have been a real forced ovulation and harvesting of eggs type situation.
Yeah,
which is really fucked up.
My note here just says, bro, the artificial insemination plot, bruh. Which is, a great note to have on a book.
It's totally fucked. And like there's a whole subplot where like Zetian's like, wow, I feel like shit. I feel like my period came early, all this other stuff. And they literally lie to her. They tell her, oh, we've been pumping you full of these like immunity shots and they're fucking you up. Sorry, we'll stop. And they're like, there's like a, as the reader, you're like, that was kind of easy. And that was like a weird length of time. And that was a weird description of the kind of pain that it was.
Yeah, and for me as a reader, and especially as a reader with a uterus, I got really scared because I had a
shout out to readers with uteruses.
Shout out to readers with. If you are reading and having a uterus, that's so difficult, and I just really am here for you. No, I know what it feels like when I menstruate, and like it was one of the funniest things to like read this description, and I got a panic response because I was like, oh my God, did they inseminate her against her will and this is going to become a real pregnancy? And it turned out I was close, but not quite. It was more fucked up than I thought.
It was super fucked up. And then, you know, and Yija's at like spearheaded it, and Zetian goes to him and is like, you realize like this is too, like, we're done. Like, there's no way we come back from this. You absolutely trashed my sense of self-respect and trust. And he's just like, yeah, I know. Don't worry. In approximately 30 minutes, they'll be fine. But
there's an exchange that happens here between Qingzhen and Wu Zetian about Iju and...
Oh, and the kind of person he is?
Yeah, and Qingzhen has this very specific thing to say, and I don't have the quote in front of me, but he has this very specific thing to say about, like, first of all, I noted the quote, some of my best friends were class traitors, which is very funny to me.
Yep.
It was a really good phrase. But he talks about, like, when you have never experienced hand-to-mouth abject poverty, and then you become a leftist, like you believe in the cause and you believe the experiences of other people and you try to contribute, there is like this almost paternalist vibe that you take on, not even intentionally, even when you're pushing against the internal paternalism of like wanting to fix things for other people. It's like you haven't suffered enough, and so you need to take on other suffering and like become a sin eater. And like it reminded me of like the oppression Olympics, and when people who actually haven't experienced oppression like are trying to figure out almost how to get themselves hurt. When you'll hear people express things like, I wish I was black so I could understand your suffering. Like, that is not a productive statement or a helpful thing for an ally to do.
Have you tried just having empathy? Anyway, sorry. Alice shrugging.
Qingzhen articulates it as this like internal struggle that people who come from privileged backgrounds and earnestly engage with the revolution have. And that like that is something that you have to recognize as someone who is not like that, who is earnestly leading the revolution. And he praises this as like a moment where Zetian can really actually get to know the people around her, and like this is his deepest truth revealed. This is the depths he will sink to in an effort to try to protect you from harm. Because Idge's whole justification for this is that the gods were not going to take no for an answer on a baby, and he knew that she would never want to carry it, and she would never consent to make another woman carry it, so he just took on this hatred of her. He willingly took on her hatred to protect her feelings, which is that kind of backwards, self-satisfying bad ally thing that Qingzhen gets at.
I also want to, in this same thought, I think I want to pay homage to what Wu Zetian says in this, which is that if they had asked her, even she's not stupid enough to have, you know, like, she'd like, yeah, we're going to have to do this eventually. It's the gods, right? Like,
yeah.
She says that it was easier to do that than deal with a difficult woman. And it resonates so much with how everyone treats her, even as the empress of their country, is that everyone is trying to work around her or placate her that's around her with power, because it's sometimes just easier than dealing with a difficult woman, which is also, I mean, it just feels like everyone is treating her that way.
I would note, with the exception of her girl squad. Because the thing I think comes into direct conversation with this is when 1 hour later talks about negative freedom versus positive freedom. And negative freedom being that the obstacles in your way have been removed, but positive freedom being that you have been provided with the tools you need to succeed. And there is a difference between what you can succeed doing when there are no longer obstacles versus what you can succeed doing when there are no longer obstacles and you actually have all the tools you need to succeed. And like, I think this is an interesting situation where Zetian was operating under negative freedom. They have stopped trying to actively control her life. They have stopped trying to like tell her how it's going to be. Instead, they are still just operating with her outside the room. Instead of, I think, a positive freedom version of this whole decision would have been bringing her in the room, having everyone sit down, Sima Yi included, my motherfucking baby boy, my rotten soldier, having everyone in the room and saying, okay, the gods have to have a baby out of you. These are our options. And then Iju laying out, like, we could do a surrogacy, we could do this. And, like, actually getting her consent would be providing her with all of the tools she needs to actually make an informed choice, versus they are technically respecting her autonomy by not making her actually carry a child. And instead, to do that, there has been so much violation.
One more quote from this section, just because every woman ever needs to hear this. So he runs out to check on her, and it's obviously because she's, you know, the surrogate of his kid or whatever. And she says, and this is her thinking it, just because he wants to fuck me doesn't mean that he respects me. Ladies.
Yeah.
Or anybody who has
Hideo
a man wanting to
Kojima.
fuck them. Yeah, Hideo Kojima does not respect you. He wants, well, no, I think, we can't get into Hideo.
That's yeah, we can't get into him, but yeah.
You want to just go through their relationship? Can we just do their whole relationship right now? Because it's a side thread to everything that happens.
Until for 35 straight pages, they're just banging. That's all that's happening.
It's T-boned into the banging.
Yeah.
I legitimately was like, this is still a YA novel, right? Because I think this is the third time they're fucking in as many chapters.
I would recommend, if listeners are having this funny moment of like, really, this is YA, I think Xiran has given a number of interesting interviews over the years about the categorization of novels. And I think that this series being marked YA is part of that conversation that you brought up, Alice and Brian, about how the West perceives things that have like anime trappings. Like, I don't know that I have encountered yet. Well, that's the Archive Undying may be the first book I've encountered where something with mechs in the premise is treated as an adult novel. But like, I'm thinking of Gear Breakers and God Breakers. I think I've got those right. I'm thinking about the books by Yoon-Ha Lee. There have been other authors that are writing about mech stuff, and we will get to those, I promise.
Guys,
and it's
there's
so funny
much.
that
We're working as fast as we can.
we're working as fast as we can to get through every mech property.
I know, to make one quick timely quip, I know I'm like finishing the last Leviathan book by Scott Westerfield, probably tomorrow. We're covering those next year. We will have many of the same things to say about YA as a genre, I think, but those books will be so fun to talk about. I cannot wait.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting because it's almost like the publishing industry does not know what to do if you want to write a book that has also revolutionary Marxism, mechs, and fucking. Like, it's in YA in name only. Like, it's difficult to talk about this as a category.
It is, but also like
It fades to black.
Books are afforded a little bit more leeway. I think, like, I remember being in high school. I have shocking everyone.
You've been
on
in
this
high
podcast.
school?
Shocking everyone in this podcast. I went to high school. No, I read approximately 70,000 vampire books in high school. A lot of them are YA, and the YA vampire books of the Twilight era are some of the nastiest, horniest shit I have ever read. So, like, I think YA is able to, like, fluctuate a little bit within those boundaries in a way that, like, Nickelodeon could not. They can't even show women holding hands.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that it's YA, it's not kids, right? It's supposed to be young adults, and young adults are having sexual encounters and are experiencing sexuality. It's just interesting to run into such a fraught dynamic, I think, is what we're seeing here between the Emperor and the Empress here, and then having that also get to have a sexual valence on screen, even if it's not explicit. But I also think, okay, it's time for me to bring in my little theory. I think there has been a mass sort of absorption of authors who wrote fan fiction into the publishing sphere, the formal publishing sphere, right?
1,000%.
Yeah, there's been a huge absorption, and I think one of the knock-on effects of that absorption is that fan fiction writers tend to write stories that both are character studies and there's explicit fucking. Like, fan fiction, at least for me, when it's operating at a high gear, is doing, like, interesting stuff, but then there will also be explicitness, and in fan fiction, that's treated as, like, par. It's almost like the price of admission. A lot of people won't read your work if there isn't a scene of smut. And then...
First off, I just want to say I love that you called it a theory because 50 Shades of Grey was a Twilight fanfic originally. So, like, the conversion already happened. Also, book talk is just too horny. Book talk has made everything too horny. Book talk must be stopped. I can't talk about it. Yes, comma. There's a degree to which,
to me, book talk is a fork of fandom. So it does not shock me that it's part of that same conversation.
100%. I also, there's a white women reading fantasy on the internet subculture that long precluded book talk that I think is also major. I mean, oh God.
I just want to say, how did we let Omegaverse get to straight people? How did that escape Destiel?
I don't know.
How did we let it out?
I blame a newer advent of this phenomenon is definitely Sarah J. Maas. I definitely blame her.
You did this.
So Wu
Anyway, we
Zetian
can't go
is
further
the
into
alpha,
No!
Li Shumen is the beta, and Yiji is obviously the omega. Anyway, I'm going to just summarize the entirety of Wu Zetian and Chen Jing's romance with a quote from the book. Cheap slut, I sneer at him. Needy whore, he fires back with a grin. After this very healthy exchange, we grasp at each other and collide in another kiss. And it's basically that for 40 pages.
That's
Okay,
the pegging, isn't it? Isn't that the pegging?
Would we like to discuss the Peggy Hill Amendment?
There's a Peggy Hill amendment.
So, did you guys read both the raw and the edit?
Okay, so here's the thing. I had a moment of intellectual cowardice because I read the original passage in the book and I was like, this reads a lot like pegging, and I wanted it to be pegging, and I was afraid that the amendment was going to be that she's not pegging him. So let me know what it is, because I don't know.
The amendment clarifies it. That's why it's called the Peggy Hill Amendment, because people were reading it the other way around.
Explicitly pegging.
Yeah, I think people got really confused about what was happening. I think some people read it as like her consenting to anal sex.
Can you give us some extra context, perhaps a reading from the Peggy Hill Amendment, so that listeners can know?
From the Peggy Hill Amendment.
We will not be reading from the Peggy Hill Amendment. Dude, Chen Jing gets pegged. I don't know. Okay.
First of all, Hosier image, men get pegged. Say more about this. I won't. I will read the statement from the website. Would you like me to read the statement from the website?
Yes, comma, hold on just one second. I just want to say, I obviously did not have the full grasp of the situation here. I just want to say, like, I can maybe arguably see not being 100% clear that Chen Jing is getting pegged. I do not see how you can understand that this is Zetian consenting to anal sex. She literally says, from her perspective, this book's in the present tense, I slide between his legs. What are you talking about?
Okay. I'm going to read, first of all, I want to read my quote that I think summarizes their relationship. This is from page 414. I suck a breath through my teeth. How are you so possessive while being a laborist? Diriju was right. You make no ideological sense. You should send yourself for re-education. Excuse me, as if I'm not about to perform far more labor than you. That is the relationship. Getting into bed and trying to see who is more Marxistly like... Anyway.
Me as a pillow princess being killed by the laborist for not doing my fair share.
Also, the first half of that was just like cue the mic feedback, Nico at a con interrogating Hideo Kojima on a panel.
Okay, now I'm going to read from the website. If you go to Xiran J. Zhao's website and you go to the page for Heavenly Tyrant and you scroll down, past all the information for booksellers, how to get free signed book plates, all this great stuff, there is a double asterisk and a thing that says correction alert. It's come to my attention that some people have been reading a certain scene in chapter 46 in a way I did not intend, so I am issuing a formal correction. The clarifying lines are meant to be narration following right after page 433. Hopefully, they will remove the scene's ambiguity. The ebook has already been fixed, and the updated print copies will come eventually, though there will be no way to know if you're getting that version unless you physically turn to page 434 and check. If you own an existing copy of Heavenly Tyrant, please take a pen or pencil and add the following lines to the top of page 434, and then they have the quote that they want added, and then has guides on how to print it and add it to your book. which is incredibly funny. This is what has been colloquially called the Peggy Hill Amendment. This is just one sentence that clarifies that Zetian is going to use spirit metal to make a strap that she can feel and peg him with it. And I think that's beautiful.
So she uses spirit metal, but I feel like wood would be a better spirit for that.
Are you talking about like chi type for your strap?
Yeah, chi type for your strap. What do you guys think?
Well, item 1, don't use metal chi.
No, that's what she does. Read the amendment.
I know, but she says spirit metal.
She says spirit metal, not that it's metal type
say
chi.
Steel type. I just don't want anybody getting cut, is what I was trying to say. Also, don't use water type. I think it'd be more flexible, but it would be cold. And that would suck.
You should use water type, because if you use silicon type, I'm just kidding.
There's one. I think there's two things worth talking about. One is more serious, so I'll do that one first, which is there's a scene where it's New Year's and he's like, "Hey, have a drink with me. You're legally an adult. You can drink with me." No, wait, you're not legally an adult, so we'll just share a cup. And they start to drink. Also, I wouldn't poison you. And they have this conversation between each other that is, I find really good characterization, which is he's basically trying to say, hey, are you actually not into me? Because, like, you do this, but you're getting closer, and I think you also just have societal standards that you can't be a slut holding you back. But you were sleeping with two guys, so I don't know what the problem is. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, oh yeah, I fuck dudes all the time. But the conversation kind of boils down to just, he thinks that she is holding herself back, and that is the last thing. Like, that's the only reason. Because she is the empress of the country. She is an equal to him, and the only person that could really ask to have sex with him as an equal. And she keeps saying, like, oh, if I don't do it, you'll kill me. Oh, if I don't do it, you'll kill me. You'll force me to do it. And he's like, hey, I would never do this without your consent. And it kind of evolves into a conversation about consent in a way that is like...
kind of?
Sort of. But
I think what this conversation is about she sees sex as only something you're supposed to do with people who you have a life connection with. Like, despite being a fairly feminist person, though not feminist in the classically trained sort of sense, despite being a fairly liberated woman, she still thinks of sex as something which has to be inherently special. Like, she would only have sex with Iju or Shimin because those are the people that she has an emotional connection with. She cannot conceive of sex as something casual, and he is pointing out that that is because she was socialized as a woman and has been told all her life that she can't run around having sex because it has to be something special, whereas he, being socialized as a man, was raised to think of sex as just an act. And so this exchange to me seemed to be about him trying to get her to accept that sex is just an act.
Well, okay, yeah, I am with you up until it comes to his motivations behind this scene. Mm-hmm. I was really grossed out by this scene because no matter what he actually thinks in this moment, he has destroyed the possibility to get through to her by, from the jump, imposing so much of his power over her, pushing so many of her boundaries, trampling all of her autonomy for, weeks on end. Like, this scene to me directly informs something that she does later on. I think this is what I love about their relationship is there's a world in which the plot of this book happens and they grow closer naturally and they do kind of form like an equal relationship with boundaries that, by the third book may or may not fall apart, but is at least there is a mutual production of like trust and respect between the two of them. But we didn't get that world because of how he has treated her already. And
I also think the other complicating factor to take into that, because of what Iju did and the situation he put the Emperor in.
Yes.
I think that's an interesting, complicated thing that helps balance the scales a little bit, because the other Ocelot quadruple reach around thing that we learned that Iju has done is that the Emperor is not actually a bubble boy. The Emperor does not actually have an immune system too fragile to exist. It sounds plausible scientifically. We just accept it. I just accepted it in the first half. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. He's from 200 years ago. He'll be taken out by COVID. He'll just be annihilated, like, whatever. And what they say is like, well, no, because like every day he's going to be interacting with bacteria every day. Like his immune system will harden up the way that someone who like maybe is from a different country would come, and then their immune system would harden up. But Iju has conspired this scenario because it puts a hard limit on what Qingjun can do. And it captures him in that bubble. And I think it's interesting to think about, one, Qingjun has an overwhelming like power imbalance over Zetian in terms of his mastery of Qi and the spirit realm and their connection and their training and things like that. But Iju has created a situation where she has physical mastery over him. She is the only one who can go out into the world and take action and use what he's been teaching her. And it is artificial, but if that did not exist, I do not think they would have any kind of relationship. Like if Qingjun had never been convinced that he was immunocompromised, I don't think there's any valence of their relationship that could be anywhere approaching healthy, because that like nerfed his entitlement and his power, which was still, it's like you pointed out, is still incredibly strong. But without it, like, I don't think there's any way we get here. But I do think that like this relationship being fraught is so interesting in a way that I do think Xiran is actively interested in as someone who is active on social media in a culture of book talk and in a culture of like what is acceptable, what is wholesome, what is consenting, what conversations around consent and about like all of these different valences to it have been everywhere. And like, I think this book is so interesting because it's clearly in conversation with them, but it also actively chooses to get a little nasty with it, which I think is kind of fun.
Ryan, I really liked your thought, to circle back on it. I didn't consider the fact that he started toxically with their relationship. And because I had been reading it, especially in the second half, as a kind of like a symbiotic in that they both needed things from each other way. You know how, couples will be that way.
To Nico's point is true, but because it was engineered that way, there had to be a foreign influence to even bring him to even that close of a level to that.
And then I do think that dulled him so that afterwards he was more willing to engage with her to try and do it as an equal. But it still felt like the intent is that he still wanted to use her, is how I read it. And he was just getting her on board with using him and understanding that he knows that she's using him, which I think is kind of an underlying note of his character.
I think something interesting here, the only reason she finds out about the false insemination plot, like the whole insemination plot, is because they get intimate and that loosens his control on his own thoughts.
Yes,
and it allows her finally to reach some level of parity in terms of her access to his brain. Because she is operating as if she has the Guwebu in her own head. Because she knows that anything she experiences, like she can't sneak away to have a moment with Iju at any point. Because the next time she connects to Qingjun, he will know. Because it's in her head and because he has total free reign to her thoughts and memories. She didn't have that with him. But when they get down to it, he kind of loses his grip on that and she's able to access stuff. And that's when she finds out about the insemination plot. Like she is accessing his brain, but she has to access it through sex. And I do think that this plot is made messier, but also I think more interesting by the fact that he is the child of a sex worker.
I think that's one of the more interesting dimensions of this too, is like he understands insofar he understands misogyny insofar as the physical harm and the material like advantage that he might have over her. But and we see this in the epilogue, right? Like as soon as the stakes fall away, like it's like that. She is property. And so like there's a kind of echo of this, and Nico, thank you for bringing Yangguang up in the last recording because I'd kind of forgotten about a lot of that part of the first book. I remember reading the first book, and for like a whole chapter, I was fooled by Yangguang, like because there's a whole chapter where he's like where she's like this is actually like kind of legit
boyfriend experience.
Yeah. And this is like it's more of this, right, where it's like you cannot just give she is having to play her cards close to her chest, and she is someone who's been conditioned to that because you cannot just give a man who has authority over you that kind of leeway. The only reason she was able to reach the peaks of that she was able to reach with Yija and with Ximin is because they were products of the same system.
Yeah, and in different intonations of it. But like, I think it's so interesting. One of the things, there are often moments in this book where I will have a thought and then I will find a character voicing that thought and be pleasantly surprised because often when I read books, I will have a thought and then no other character will voice that. And that's just a thought I'll have to carry around, which is like, no one said this. Whereas Tai Ping actually voices the lesbian exclusionist view, which is Tai Ping is like, why would you even deal with men? Like at the end, because she's talking about, because eventually Zetian confides in her what Iju has done as far as this insemination thing. And she's like, yeah, I'm not shocked. And she's like, what do you mean you're not shocked? That's your brother. And he's like such a good guy and everything. And Tai Ping does the lesbian exclusionist thing where she goes, but he's still a man. Like, what I can like so many men, and at the end of the day, I'm still always waiting for a man to show his true cards. And I don't think that that is a productive view. And I think that that's something I've struggled. You know, I had a very funny conversation with a friend because I was deep in a man-hating rut after some bad experiences, and then I read East of Eden by John Steinbeck, and I remembered that men have interiority. No, but like legitimately, like if you are a lesbian and like you center your life in the way that Tai Ping has as a character, it can get to the point where you're like, why the fuck would you interact with a man anyway? At the end of the day, no matter how woke, no matter how caring, no matter how sensitive, he's still a man. And that's not a useful worldview or a useful thing to think about people. And we have to hope that things will be better and that socialization will not prevail.
It's an extreme of you know, not all men, but no men get it. You know what I mean? Like and I think there's a certain degree to which like societally generally, and I think, you know, you have a knee-jerk reaction when someone says like a blanket statement about a social class that you're a part of, where you're just like, and it's like, you got to pull yourself out of it, and just men, by and large, blanket statement in the current day, they don't get it. And like, there's a valence to it that they're not going to get, and it's because I don't get it. Like there's a degree to which I will never get it. You know what I mean?
If there's me pulling back from it, it's only because that point of view may have some validity, but it has been weaponized by transphobes. Specifically, that perspective of like, if you have a certain experience, you will never understand a different experience has been weaponized, which is why I step back from it. And I want to always remember that you may be frustrated and there may be systems of power in place that make it feel like there is nothing you can do with a man, that he is always, that you feel like Tai Ping, that like there's no way you can ever trust. But if you surrender to that, it makes you very easy to manipulate into becoming someone who is a trans misogynist on Twitter. Like, sorry. Like, that's just way too easy. You need to maintain the distance from that bitterness.
It's a slippery slope, right? Because it's strengthening the othering effect of like the gender binary.
And remember that men have interiority.
You need to read East of Eden and remind yourself that men have interiority. You need to read, I guess, this book if you need to remember that women have interiority. You need
to read Iron Widow if you need to remember. But like I'm glad that what I was grateful for is Tai Ping expressed that view that I think sapphic people and like specifically lesbians, specifically women who are attracted to women and have no attraction to men would have been thinking. With all of this happening, Tai Ping actually voices the view. It's like, bitch, I know you love Iju and Ximin, but maybe you just write everybody off. Like, maybe it's time to just write everybody off. And I'm glad that was expressed, but not embraced.
I totally agree with you. I love this because it's coming from Tai Ping, who is a character that we have seen over and over again, has a lot to learn. Her heart is in absolutely the right place. She's got a ways to go. You know?
Yeah. It's really interesting.
Like that, to talk about the sexuality of it all, Wu Zetian, when she catches that chaste kiss in the tunnels, she has the thought of like, you know, maybe in another life, instead of two guys, maybe there was a girl involved too. And she does explore that as like, yeah, that's a possibility, but she's come around as like, no, I'm into who I'm into because of who they are, not because of what's in their pants. It just happens that they're this way. I'm not going to write them off because of their gender. Like, it's a cool mini character arc
book.
there.
It's a nuanced relationship. And I do think that it's interesting for Zetian to have the, like, toxic casual relationship she has with Xingzhen as a counterpoint to the way that her relationship with Iju is being made more fraught, and the way her relationship with Shimin has become more and more, like, on a pedestal because he's gone. And so, like, there's a way that you end up idealizing a relationship you've lost, and then you have to confront that the confrontation happens later. I don't love a lot of the stuff that happens there, but, like, she has two relationships that she loved and adored, and there's literally a moment where she has a dream where everything is perfect and right for a while, and then now it's been made hugely complicated by circumstances outside of any of their control. Like, I think it's really interesting to see all these different perspectives on it. I'm really grateful for it. Also, I want to call out a line that Xingzhen says, where she says, "You're the worst mistake I've ever made in my life," and he says, "The worst mistake you've made in your life so far."
Yeah.
The only other thing that I think is worth calling out about this is when she finally gives consent. They establish the safe words, which are, when I want you to stop touching me, I yell private property. And when we're back on, public property.
So stupid. But I love it.
After they've established it, she's like, "Don't get me pregnant." And he's like, "Oh, don't they have, like, plan B here?" And she's like, "Put a fucking condom on." And he's like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah," but he's like, "It's all the way over on the other nightstand." And I'm like, I have been with a dude like that so many times.
I know, this is such a comic trope. It's so funny.
Well, no, but and you know what's funny is I imagine, like, this is what I love about novels, because it's like, in this moment in your mind, you can see, like, the tight shot of him saying that, and then we pan out, and their bed is actually so big that it's, like, such a problem, actually.
And the next 2 minutes are him knee walking to the edge of the bed.
They keep reminding you how big and round this bed is. I'm like, yeah, that would be kind of annoying. But then he pulls out a full stack, and I'm like,
and getting caught in the comforter, falling off, and then
oh my god,
The
it's
great
the
thing
full
about books is you
Achilles
can-
from Robot Jocks. He's, like, struggling with the blanket. Yeah.
you can insert any amount of slapstick you want. Books are great.
so that's their plot. Let's talk about the revolution. So that's one half of the book. Let's talk about the revolution.
Let's T-bone into the next segment of
Yes, exactly, bro.
The counter-revolutionaries are ramping up their activities. The Phoenix Ladies, which is a nonprofit that Wu Zetian is starting as her own militia, are established. Hey, we start giving period products to everybody. That's pretty cool. And eventually, this all blows
Shout
up.
out to Wu Zetian, because she reminded me that I had a menstrual cup and I went and used it. So thank you, Wu Zetian. That is not a joke. I was reading that part and I went, why am I using a pad right now? I have a menstrual cup. And I went and put it in.
This all culminates with the Han Frontier revolting against the revolution, with most of the pilots, not the Iron Widows that are out there. And a fight ensues in which Wu Zetian and her eunuch pilot have to fly out and try to put this down. Unfortunately, though, the rebellion, their flagship chrysalis, is the Azure Dragon, which is one of a prince bonded pair. They also have, who do they have, Brian?
I've been betrayed.
Guys, when the whale bird turned on the revolution,
Even a whale bird will turn.
But the other thing about this too is that we talked about this. I fucking love the whale bird. I think it's one of the coolest drawings, and it shows up in part 1, immediate L. It shows up here, immediate L. Can we get a W for the fucking whale bird, please?
so
Can we get a W for the whale bird?
I had to go back and I was like, wait, was him getting knocked into the mountain it? That's it?
Sometimes you get hit by the yellow dragon and you're just like, I'm good, actually. It seems like they're about to do some tragic pilot loss shit. I'm good, actually. I was over there on the bench.
So,
this whip's so this is the best mech fight in the series so far.
This is the mech of it all. This mech fight is so fucking ripped.
It's so fucking cool.
She on the way over starts to work on her speed. Oh, okay.
She is having to pilot, because at this point, Xingjin doesn't know that everything was a ruse. She is having to try to put down this revolution in the Yellow Dragon because they need to use the commendable-sized dragon. They have to use the dragon, but he can't leave, so she is having to pilot it with her eunuch pilot, and she is struggling, not as much as she did before, but she is struggling on the way over, and she has to figure out, as Alice started to say, how to break off that smaller unit for this fight. So item 1, she's going on in with like a handicap. She's not in the nine-tailed fox. She is in the yellow dragon, and she's trying to mold that chi.
Wow, you really chin-janged me there and just took that from me. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Could you say public property so we can keep
public
going?
Property. Yeah, public property. So they meet in the. So she breaks it off. It's ill-formed, but it's dark, and she starts to do an impression of the Emperor because she's like, well, I could just make the voice that comes out sound like anything, right? Because she's starting to work.
Listener here, the audiobook narrator's work on this is so fucking funny.
Is it? Okay.
So the audiobook narrator has like 4 different voices that she does for Qingjun because he has those different accents he slips in and out of, like his educated one and his provincial one and everything. So not only is she doing all that, she's like, okay, here's me doing a masculine voice as the Emperor. Now I'm going to do Wu Zetian doing the Emperor, and like sort of good, and then later completely bad and having to give it up. And it is so funny. Audiobook narrators are ripped. They're so good.
So I like how Wu Zetian is still trying to negotiate with this child, and like I think this is a good sell-off of something we've seen build up, which is like no matter what she does, she will never get through to this kid. She will never impress on him that the revolution is important. She will never get through to him because he is baked in his ideas. And she's like, I gotta fucking kill this guy, I guess.
It's it sucks because it's like I think Zetian specifically is just not equipped to get through to him. Like I think there's a world in which someone is able to show him some actual compassion, which I think is what's like lacking in his life because he's 14 and in war now.
Can I say something controversial yet brave?
Yeah.
I think Ximen could have gotten through to him.
Oh yeah.
I've missed him. I missed him at this fucking moment.
I missed him at this fucking moment too. Yeah, the Azure Dragon cannot be stopped. This fight is so cool. Alice, sorry, go on.
So I just want to talk about the part that really gets me, which is, so they're fighting, and she realizes that she can't beat him conventionally, so she has to go, like she always does, outside the box, and she decides to disconnect and, like, give herself wings and then cut out of the dragon to go over to the Azure Knight, because they're, like, tied together, and he's threatening to plummet them to the ground.
Well, this is because everyone's favorite Romance of the Three Kingdoms character, Zhuge Liang, is here. There's a very funny moment where she
Zhuge
hears
Liang
him
is here.
Yeah, he is. He's advising the 14-year-old or the 13-year-old because he can see that her wing on her subunit is malformed. So he's like, take the Azure Dragon up and just drop her ass.
She can't mend. She cannot mend fast enough. It doesn't look like she's mending.
And
which
she's
is
like, fuck you, actually, and basically jams a harpoon into him and latches their units together and then
it's a sword through
ejects.
her mech's chest. So
yeah. It's fucking savage.
So she ejects and she climbs over, breaks in, and literally just goes over to him and holds a knife to his throat while they're in the realm. And he's like, what the fuck? Because I love when he's just like, what the fuck? As the Azure Dragon.
You can't do that.
She, like, you mentioned before, she left the spirit metal with the wings behind for her guy.
Yeah, she made a second set of armor.
He disconnects and starts to fight her. And, his co-pilot, oh my god, I wrote her name down.
Wei Zifu?
She is like pleading with him and Wu Zetian realizes that she is piloting it alone.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts.
And that will kill you very quickly. And so she's arguing with him, and they get thrown out, and the two chrysalises plummet, and both die instantly.
Because Wei Zufu can only pilot for so long, and she fails, and then they plummet, and neither of them are able to save their co-pilot to get back in the chrysalises to take control again. And when they open everything up, both of their co-pilots are dead. And this is the part that fucked me up, where she realizes, so, like you said, Wei Zufu is probably killed by the chi exhaustion of having to try to solo pilot the Azure Dragon and keep it aloft, and failing. Di Renjie dies when she disconnects. Like, he does not have the spirit pressure to be in the Yellow Dragon alone. Not even really doing anything, he does not have the spirit pressure to be connected solo, and he died the moment she disconnected. That fucked me up.
Which evokes what we learned of the female concubines all the way back at the beginning, is that they would just die like a flame to our original guy. But what gets me here is the Wei Zifu of it all, which is Wu Zetian earlier comments that, sorry, am I mispronouncing
Brian, you're not
it, Brian?
rocking with the, no, Brian,
it's just
was
like
losing it at the Wei
just
Zufu.
the dead 13-year-old of it all.
The dead 13 of it all. But there's like Wu Zetian comments that when the anti-revolutionaries are broadcasting, she is the only female in the lineup, and I think it's really
This
really
one
cool how
hurts.
she wishes she had talked to her. She wishes she had gotten through to the female of the pair to try and, because apparently like she just feels bad for her.
She has third thoughts because she recalls in the first book, the female pilot of the Black Tortoise was the female match pair. Cielo wasn't vibing with her yet, but the female pilot of Black Tortoise was the female pilot who was nice to her, and then that pilot double-crossed her. And so Zetian doesn't try to reach out to Wei Zufu because she's like, I can't just assume that the female pilot doesn't want anything to do with this. She may be as willing a partner in this as he is. And then she has the third thought that you say, that she goes, oh, I had no idea. I initially assumed as a woman she wouldn't want any part of this. Then I had the second thought of, well, I can't assume that anymore because I had that bite me in the ass once. And now she's having to have the third thought of, I never even tried to reach out to her. I did all this thinking in my head about what her position could be and let her die, basically, because I made no attempt to reach out to her to find out if she was
in all
committed
of
or
that,
not.
I forgot about Di Renji. Like it's
done so well.
You fuck up so bad, and there's nothing you can do. It's so
true.
D is like, he is the person who is reminding her over and over again about basically the subaltern, like prisoners, like people who are, regardless of gender, regardless of means, who have already been made abject in society. And in a way, he's almost the one who reminds her of the Hunduans. Like, he is reminding her of the most voiceless people in her society, that if she wants liberation, it should be liberation for everyone. And she had this thought as they disconnected that she thought came from him that was like, are you ready to liberate everyone, your majesty, or whatever? I forget what the exact quote is. And she realizes because he died instantly when she disconnected, she doesn't even know if that was him, or if that was just like, that may have been his last ever thought on Earth, or it may have been something she was reminded of as his life force flared out. Like, it's really incredible. Like, this is an incredible mech fight and incredible feelings in the middle of this book, and then we got to get back to
well, and then we go back, and this is like the third Ocelot turn, right, for Yisha?
Yeah, this is when we get the reveal about the pathogen. This is when we get the reveal that Iju infected him with something.
Oh yeah. So like so it all is this starts because she tries to send out a tweet. And to send out the tweet, we have to talk about it. She breaks into Sima Yi's office, ties him to a table, picks up his tablet, realizes that he's been looking at photos of himself and the guy who just started the counter-revolution.
Sima Yi gay moment for no reason?
A little too many photos of them together, and then some just of him. And there's this throw-off comment where she's like, I wish I could explore why Chinese scholars all were a little gay, but it was kind of normalized, so it's not really gay. But I've got to send this tweet. Thank you. Chinese scholars cannot beat the allegations. They are always lusting for each other. But you'll never guess, spoiler alert, the gods put in a parental block.
The god said you can't tweet like that.
And
The
they're like,
gods
"I
have
told
their
you,
screen time settings up to date.
you cannot fucking do that. We're about to drop some truth bombs on you." And they drop the audio that is them plotting to lock up the emperor and keep him behind glass. And apparently they send it to the emperor too.
I love that she's like, oh no, and immediately, distantly in the palace, the sound of the emperor busting out like the Kool-Aid man.
The emperor is
Loose.
approaching you.
The emperor's approaching your location at speed.
Yizha threatens Qinzheng's life before making this daring escape from the capital. Like, this is he was on some shit.
Okay, so first off, casually deploys nerve agent. What the fuck are you carrying around, Yiji?
Okay, Gladys.
So there's a really cool art of this book on the website that's like the two of them in their thrones just absolutely serving cunt, and Yiji's behind them and he's holding the mask like he's fucking Guy Fawkes with gas behind him, and
It's
I
really
was like,
good.
yeah, that's the vibes. But I didn't know there were limited application nerve agents that just go away after a while. So because I was
It's
like,
the fantasy future.
it doesn't look like CS gas, so but yeah, he escapes, and okay, it's a little bullshit, but it's so perfect where he's like, hey, blame everything that was bad about the revolution on me and roll back the bad policies. Course correct the revolution.
It's based, but also at what cost? Like, yeah, Brian, talk to me about Iju. How are you feeling at this point in the book?
I think that, like, so here's, at this point, I'm still just kind of like really interested as to what is going on with him. You know, like at this point, I'm thinking, oh, maybe the gods are kind of like up to a thing with him, and they are that one of the things that doesn't that kind of, to me, pointedly doesn't really come up in Zetian's thought process is like, what if they are like holding Ximin over his head more directly the same way they are like there's a dimension to which, like, maybe there's a lot of these actions that he's doing that are self-serving to them. He seems to have access to information that doesn't like congeal with what he should have access to, that kind of thing. And
Desperately want the book that is his perspective of this entire book, because he's up to some shit.
I do. And so, like, there's just like a lot going on here where I'm just like, I'm still reeling from like the thing that he did and like what possible reasons he could have to do that to her and everything. And then, like, the thing that really breaks my heart is that, like, what it ends up being is like, it just kind of like wraps up into the thing with the gods. Absolutely none of that hit for me. So like, the other thing too is, like, for the rest of this book, he serves undeniable cunt. Like, he's just absolutely duck walking to the camera at all moments for the rest of the book.
High heels every scene after.
But this is also the turning point, right? Like, the Iron Widow
I don't know if
pacing.
you could see. There's just some. I put a sticky note in my book that just says it is when Iju gets out of like the little craft in the high heels and the red dress.
Yes.
Cut?
Hello?
Hello?
The Iron Widow pacing is coming back, where
Yes.
this turn a couple pages, 5 months pass, right? And like, I get it, you can do time skips in a book, but then the orbital arc thing also takes one page after all that build up. And that's when I start to go, oh no.
So before we jump into the assault on the Heavenly Court, I do want to just briefly talk about the revolution crafting that Wu Zetian does with the Phoenix Ladies. I think that this is cool. If you know anything about like socialist movements, this is pretty stock, lock and barrel, but also early feminist movements and early feminist groups and collectivism.
This reminded me a lot of the stuff that they talk about in the Jakarta method when they talk about feminist organizing in, Indonesia? I'm trying to remember. Jakarta is the capital of...
Indonesia.
Okay. Yeah, when they talk about feminist organizing under the communist regime in Indonesia, where they're, like, it was such a mild form of it. It was this kind of social support network. And then part of when that revolution, and it wasn't even a revolution, the Communist Party in that country was not a one-party state the way it is, or it was in China. When there was a violent repression of communist movements in that country by the United States-backed military coup, women specifically were called out as witches, and there was a mass gender violence retaliation against them, specifically under an anti-communist backlash. And I was thinking about that when I was thinking about, like, under communism, when you try to get at other problems, and then, like, what happens when the regime that was enabling you to look for justice in more targeted small ways is lost to you. And, like, I was thinking about all that as I was engaging with this, but also they're fun. I like them. They're getting shit done.
So, all this to say, like, it's good, it's whatever. I want to talk about exactly one scene. And so they're at one of
the
their
beheading.
It's the beheading. So they're in there, and she's just like helping women out, and they're just doing women stuff. And this Revolutionary Guard comes in, which is important because they work for. So there's 3 militias now in the country, one for each of the main characters, right? And the revolutionaries are directly under Xinjiang. And he comes in and he's like, I'm looking for my wife. And they're holding him down and they're like, you can't come in here. This is a women's only space. And he's like, not all men. Why is it women's only? I'm making this about me, why aren't there any men's shelters? I'm not going to start one, but why aren't there any? You know, that kind of thing.
This book is good at times, and then this book is embarrassing at times when they literally, it's like, okay, we have to reproduce the literal, almost like joke talking points of the other side so that we can shoot them down.
So he shows up and he's like, I want to see my wife. And you're like, why is your wife in our domestic violence shelter? And he's like, you know how women are. And they just have this back and forth where he goes through all
person to say, you know how women are.
I know. It's so, this dude really thought this was gonna work?
He said,
hello?
He's just like, I obviously was trying to sexually assault her and she said no and came here and I just want her back. And he gets up and he has a gun because he's a Revolutionary Guard, and he gets up to like push past her, which, number one, pushing the Empress is hilarious.
Don't push past Wu Zetian.
But he does it because Wan Er has pulled out her iPad and started recording this man being the biggest piece of shit ever. And he's like, don't record me being a piece of shit. I know that they have TikTok in the space future. And he gets up to push past her to stop. And she just like twists her hand, uses her scythe to behead him. The blood spurts out. It covers the camera. Wan Er wipes off the camera to show the beheaded head. And we get the best Chulu line in the book, which is, nice.
Yep, nice. Fucking, that was so sick. This image hit me like a fucking waterfall. Sorry, just totally off topic. Anyway,
I do want to say one of my favorite things about so I mentioned in the last episode, Xiran Zhao is really into the French Revolution, which is well known for the deployment of the guillotine, right? I think there's an interesting on-purpose subversion where the people who are publicly executed in this world, who get the worst possible execution, they get the hammer. And they are basically beaten to an unrecognizable form so that when they reach the afterlife, they do not have a functioning body. Like, they are taken to pieces with a hammer. And that is the tool that Xinjiang wields. He has the hammer, she has the scythe. This is like one of the few beheadings we actually see in this book. I love that Wu Zetian gets to deploy it. I felt Xiran Zhao in this Chili's tonight. I felt like they were like, I'm getting one beheading in my revolutionary book, and it is Wu Zetian at the women's shelter. Like, it popped pretty good.
It was so good. I also, like, it evokes the beheading in Kill Bill Volume 1 to me, which is like one of the scenes of all movies, in my opinion.
Now, if any of you sons of bitches got anything else to say, now's the fucking time!
One last note, thank you, Xiran Zhao, for working in the Three Gorges Dam into this book. Really appreciate that. It got some screen time. Okay.
Thanks. Let's attack Heaven.
Let's attack Heaven. So after learning that
dethrone God,
Yiji has been manipulating them and that Qingjing does not need to live in a bubble, Wu Zetian is now sharing a bed, blah, 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 did all that. So they launch their assault. Let's just go let's just go play by play because I think we all got to experience this all in turn. So the launch is very cute. I love it. Taiping sees them off. They're silent. It's cool. Like Brian said, it's one page. I really wish we had got more. Basically, she gets too many G's, and they slam into the side of the Heavenly Court, which we've already seen as a touring station. And they crash, and they get ready to leave after, reconnoitering themselves, cut it open, and what do they see, guys?
Halo from the movie Halo.
So let's just go through it. So robots attack them, but they're using smart bullets because they're on a space station, and which is given, it's really explained to us that we need to know they're using smart bullets, but also we immediately understand that the people of Huasha have a control over spirit metal that's why they are feared. Oh shit,
Yeah.
a feral is on the station. They're aliens, but they're not, because they're just a human country, and this is just a space station.
White
and they have
people.
They're white. They're
I need to
pale-ass
read
white.
the section. I need to read the section. I put a bookmark in. Hold on, let me get it.
But they played in this cagey way where they can sense the spirit pressures running away from them. They're trying to find the god so that they can interrogate one, but they keep not finding one. And then they break into a house, and they're like, this is obviously a house. Those are chairs for people. And then they see pictures, and the pictures look like what, Nico?
There are pictures displayed digitally on the wall, and the pictures have people in them. Unnaturally thin and bone pale. Their features are so different from anyone in Huasha that I can't tell their genders. I'm guessing they're a family, 2 parents and 2 children. One adult has golden hair that swoops upward in defiance of gravity. The other has short purple hair cropped at an angle along their jaw. The 2 children in front of them have different shades of blue hair, and they all have light-colored eyes. Nothing like the statues of gods in our temples. And then she says, if they're not human, I don't know what else I'd call them, but it is so funny how she's like, oh my god, the aliens, and she just describes white people. I always listen, I love whenever this shit happens. It's so funny.
This is I'm still kind of with us with it on this one.
Yeah.
I'm
there.
I'm there. I'm lamenting how fast we're going again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's a timeliness to this part that I guess I can feel, but I also don't. It doesn't feel like they're in a rush to get through this.
I
disagree.
An interesting thought at this point, which was, we have seen race in these books, but it has been ethnic subgroups, right?
Yes.
The Rongdi are the main
totally.
racialized bodies that we've been looking at, right? The majority of people that we've seen are Han Chinese, and then whatever. There's a comment that the emperor makes at one point, Qingzhen, they're in a dream, and he's walked into the water a little bit, and he's cupping some of the water, and he's saying, I wonder what's across the sea. Because this book sometimes will remind you how small the conflict is, despite how big the conflict is and how voluminous it is and how much we're I wish I had another 200 pages to have this go in a smooth pace. The conflict that is happening here is quite small. They are on one continent and they do not know what is happening anywhere else on this planet other than that presumably there are more Hunduans, right? Because Hunduans are native to this planet. They don't know anything else about other land masses, about anywhere else. It's come up before. I'm doing a lot of medieval historical studies. It's really interesting to read historical accounts of people who have an inkling that there may be an entire different way of life across the sea, but have no means of accessing it. Right? And that's something we get into at the very end of the book that is touched on. But it made me think for a moment that okay, we have this planet and we know that Huasha are, I always fuck up that. We know that this kind of parallel to historical China is happening on this continent. We don't know about anything else. I don't presume that the planet looks exactly like Earth and there's a Europe or a Middle East or a Africa where things are happening like that. But it did make me wonder, if we got white people on the satellite and we have Chinese people on this one continent, do we have a Hunduan conflict playing out with all sorts of different prisoner ethnic groups? I'm interested to see how race comes into play further on as we have first contact scenarios, not just with an alien other, but people from different continents. I'm very interested in what the book is going to do with that, because I think if these books do one thing that's really interesting, Iron Widow was really interested in gender. This book has been really interested in social class and classism. I'll be really interested if there's more stuff about race there, but specifically race and indigeneity, because if we remember, the third book is where we're really hoping they do anything with the Hundoans.
Would
I
you
don't
say
know,
that, like,
but
you
it's
really want to
interesting.
see, like, maybe, like they leave Huasha
If you
and they go
describe the
to, like,
plot of an
a
Avatar
water
movie to me right now,
tribe,
I'll kill
perhaps
you.
a
I'll
fire
kill
tribe
you.
that are of a different look than the
I'll
avatars
kill
we've
you.
already seen.
I'll kill you.
Okay.
Part of this to me is like a taste thing. I like, it just doesn't hit for me that like this, that we balloon outwards so quickly. I would rather have found out a lot more of this information like substantially more gradually.
I
The
would have
thing is,
rather
like,
had half of a book to explore the space station. I love the vibe that they have initially where they land and everyone is fleeing from them, and they're functionally having like an immersive sim moment where they're just moving through environments that have been quickly abandoned and trying to glean details about what life is like there. I like that vibe, but it passes really quick.
But and this is a through plot for the rest of the book that really bugs me, which is that like the gods appear to just be like feckless, well-meaning Democrats. Like I hate it. I wanted them to be. Imagine what this would have been like if we had gotten like they breached the station, the Heavenly Court. Most of this is the same flavor wise. But it's like you said, like it's like half a book, and it's like a rendezvous with Rama situation where it's like, why is there no one here? And then like when Yi just shows up, it is part of like a bigger thing where it's like, the gods are doing XYZ to like mollify the problems that we've caused or whatever. They're just nothing they do from this point forward strikes me as the people who would make this space station. I don't know what we're supposed to think about them. The only one of them we see, we'll talk about them in a second. The only one of them we see is just like this like meaningless piece of garbage who just like sucks and like not in like a cool villain way. It like took the entire breath out of it for me.
I just want to say that when we got onto the space station and they started to explain what these people looked like, I did have this moment where I was like, are we in the fucking Dr. Seuss space station with these fucking people and their updos? And then the more I learned about them, the more I was like, oh, I get the metaphor. Oh, I get the metaphor. Oh, I get the metaphor. And it just feels like up until she drops our Nihao girl, as I'm going to call her, because that's how she introduces herself.
They introduce
they.
themselves.
It's they.
Yeah.
They self. What? Okay, so they fight through, and a hovercraft approaches, and it's got a sign that says, hey, don't shoot me, which is evoking an earlier scene. And it lands, and the cuntiest cunt, Yiji, steps out, and he's like, hey, actually, I've planned all of this. I know how to get us to the end of this book. Jump in this car with me.
It's important to note that he's been up here for 5 months, which is easy to lose because 2 pages ago he was saying, remember this, like we were going to get any breathing room.
Yeah, and so he gets in, and there is one of the gods on the ship with him, and you'll never guess, but people want to interrogate her immediately, and we learn that they just are a weeb who love the period dramas and the warring periods.
This is the quote to me. I don't know if you guys agree. This is the quote to me. You have a beautiful culture I adore. It is full of deep spiritual wisdom. Chinjung, kill yourself. It's so good.
Frame it. Ship it and frame it. It's so good. Kill
What
yourself.
I was gonna say is this is an interesting situation where it's like, okay, imagine you're an oppressed people and all you know in the world is that you're being oppressed by the United States of America, the evil
Yes.
gods who float above you, right? And so you launched an attack on the United States of America, the evil gods who are floating among you. And you crash land in fucking Des Moines, Iowa, at a suburban house with a weeb who loves C-dramas. And they're like, you have a beautiful culture. I've heard of you from our oppression. You have a beautiful That's what I felt like they were trying to do, is imply that this space station is not just the gods, the evil people who are orchestrating this whole thing. This space station contains an entire other society, and they have encountered the most random person in it. But then nothing else in the book, like, addresses the fact that it's like, if you are trying to counter an alien insurgency and you land in Des Moines, Iowa, how do you get to the Pentagon? Like, this entire book just, like, doesn't really know what to do once you get there. here's my thing. It's simply if someone from, say, Chile was here to get vengeance on the great Satan, the United States of America, for our many crimes in South
no,
America.
hold on. We got to be real and say it would be someone from Puerto Rico, but go on.
If a Puerto Rican showed up and was here to face the great Satan and kill someone from the United States and like find the leaders of the United States of America, would I come out of my house and point them at the Pentagon? I like to think I would. Realistically, I would pretend no one was home. I would be very afraid, especially if they could control spirit metal. I'm sorry to the
You know what? You know what?
Here's what I like about the plot with them is that Yiji is Eugene and has manipulated this person into thinking that a moderate response to injustice is a way that can work forward, but everyone here knows that that isn't. And so she literally explains,
I found a 19-year-old liberal from Iowa and
Brother.
with them.
I'm just going to say it. So it's the Melian Republic is who owns this station. We learn that there's a whole ass fucking universe that has many different empires. It's just that the Melians have won out and have control of this planet. Also, we're on Dune, and spirit metal is the most important thing ever, and that's cool. But also, hey, the Melian Republic has a two-party solution, and we're going to have an election in 5 years, and I want our party to win because they will be slightly nicer to you guys than the other party. And
This is fucking blinding how much is happening here. Like, it's so... And the thing is... And this is the craziest thing to me. Out of all the things it could be, and again, to go back to what I said earlier, this is a taste thing. Like this might hit for some people. To me, out of all the things it could be, this is like the lamest.
so I think
I just had an evil thought.
What's the evil thought?
Hey, is this whole situation is set up supposed to maybe gesture at the idea that the Honduans are kind of Palestinians?
I don't want to... I can't entertain that with you right now.
Because this whole thing is this two-party system that has direct military intervention potential on a indigenous group fighting back against a colonizer-established colony, which provides resources to this two-party system, is in division about the amelioration of the conflict on the surface. I don't think that's what Xiran was going for, but that is a way you can read this.
Yeah,
If the Melians are supposed to be
yes.
America, and you want to look at a division between two groups on a planet, like...
I don't think the Melians are supposed to explicitly be America. I think they're supposed to be the natural end course of a capitalist society that exploits lesser species and lesser societies for their own materialistic gain, and that they won't ever see them as equals.
This could just be a linguistics thing to me. I read them as explicitly America because when you take America and then you take like the stereotypical like East Asian accent that has like a flip between the R and the L, you get America, which just like kind of folds into Melians. Like the words were so
system, 5 year cycles.
The words were so similar to me. The two-party system, the blue hair, the pronouns.
They speak like a feckless Democrat. I get that, and I want to talk about your point about it feeling lame, Brian, because I feel like sometimes you come in and you're like, I feel like this needs to do something different. This needs to do something new. I want it to get weirder. And sometimes I might think that I don't agree with that, but exactly because of how much work the rest of the world building and universe does to give these ideas, I don't think we need to also tackle how America intervenes in cultures. Like, it feels like a step too far for what 3 books is trying to do.
Well, yes, I agree.
And arguably for what 2 books was trying to do, because that's what it was initially.
And arguably too, like if you're a confident storyteller and you understand that you are writing from a specific cultural context, i.e., being a Chinese Canadian, having like all this baggage that specifically has to do with America and like America's relationship with what I'm going to just broadly say is the Orient in terms of like not just China, but
in an Edward Said sense.
Yes, thank you so much. In an Edward Said sense, I just think that like you should be confident enough to understand that we're going to have that reading anyway. You like this could have been, I'm like. maybe I just need more time. Maybe this will grow on me. That's another thing is like I finished this book like 3 days ago. Maybe like I just need more time to stew on it. But to me, it's like, and I can't think of a specific thing. It's just there's so many other cooler, subtler, and like Alice said, weirder things you can do.
Can I say what I wish it had been? I wish it had been, if I'm going to have my script doctor moment, I wish that the space station had been partially shut down and this was one outpost of a corporation trying to meet a quota. Because I think something that happens and is always horrifying when you realize it's happening is there have been countless times throughout history that a company with the backing of a nation or whatever goes to a place where there is no oversight and they do absolutely horrific, heinous things. And they are doing it to make paper pulp, or they are doing it to produce sugarcane.
Or to get unobtainium from Pandora.
Yeah, sure, Alice. You're the only person who knows about this. On Earth. Not even James Cameron knows what you're talking about. But no, like, there are so many times in history that you can read about, like, some horrific thing that happened in a village, and that was someone's whole world. They lived in that village, they're from that village, the greatest injustice of their life was visited on them by someone who is a branch manager. I'm honestly more sad that they've gotten to the gods, and it is a whole huge political thing on its own, not the least of which because I feel like this book bites off a huge chunk of political conflict just with what's happening in Wuxia. And Wuxia, Jesus, why can't I get that one now? Just with what is happening on the continent. It is biting so much off there. I feel like biting off a whole nother fucking thing in the alien society is unwise as a storyteller. I feel like you have to have scope. Yeah, what's up?
Sorry, you were talking about how corporations will like move into third world countries and just kind of like fuck shit up and nobody like there's not like
if you broke into HQ, it's a guy named Daryl. Like that to me would be more horrifying than breaking in and finding out the entire United States is on the space station. Yeah,
like, I wanted to look up. There was a memo that was leaked in 1991. It's called the Summers Memo, and it's this. It is I recommend that you look it up if you are interested in the history and like the ongoing moment with how these things work. I would not recommend you look it up if you are someone who is easily like troubled or disgusted by like the true evils of humanity, because like this is genuinely one of the most evil documents I've ever read. But it is basically just like an extremely cruel and sarcastic justification for the continued dumping of toxic waste in South African countries. And I just like it something, there's an angle to that. There's like there's like an insidious thought out evil in that. And to me, that is incredibly compelling. And the fact that we do not get a single voice in this entire run up that evokes that to me, it makes this, it takes all of the air out of the conflict in a way that like, I just didn't like.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Like you said,
I didn't want this to be a hater hour. I wanted to say my piece on it. We can talk about zombie shaman if you want.
Yeah, I think to kind of put a pin in this, it's like, I think if there's any disappointment, it's because we are seeing an author who is going for it. No one can say that Xiran Zhao did not fucking go for it this whole book, whether it's the toxic relationship, whether it's let's try to consolidate all of revolutionary history for an introductory audience now, whether it's like trying to talk about all sorts of different angles and views on different events. Like I said, there's so many characters who will articulate a thought that I have had in a way that feels like a competent writer understanding their audience. No one can say they don't go for it, but maybe scope down, you know? Like, I feel like when you get out of scope, then you lose the ability to address the different things you're touching on with the richness that you address things initially, right?
Totally.
Like, and so let's talk about the Terminator Leash.
I wanna also just pay credence to the fact that we are engaging with this conversation because this book is so good in a lot of ways, and it also touches on topics that a lot of YA don't. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk to you guys about the Hunger Games and how there's an entire district for lumber. Like, what the fuck? Why do we have a district for lumber? That's so stupid. Also, why is the capital in Denver? Denver fucking sucks.
No, I think the Hunger Games is an excellent example of this kind of thing because I think the Hunger Games was interested in doing a very specific thing about war and the exploitation of peoples and the use of distractions and things like that, and then it didn't have interest in the other stuff, yeah, there's a whole district for lumber. Who gives a shit? That's not what the books are trying to do. But now it's a lot of what we remember about it. But I think it's like, I feel like that's a situation you can get into with YA books where you end up with this you end up focused on the wrong things, maybe because of the way they were presented or because things were scoped in the wrong way.
Right. And it's like, it's maybe not even the wrong things. It's that you have split your focus and you have now used like the extent of the writerly like apparatus that you're using to tell the story to like overexpose one aspect of it and completely underexpose another aspect of it. You know, this might sound patronizing. Writing is hard, and like that is an extremely big part of why. You know what I mean? What are my story's priorities as I'm writing it is actually like one of the most difficult questions you can ask.
I can say I have so many works in progress in my fucking Google Drive folder that are because I have beautifully written one scene, but I know that the entire story in a finished state would have 4 other scenes that address different stuff, and I have no interest in addressing that stuff, and so the work simply never sees the light of day. Like Brian said, trying to figure out what your priorities are and writing the things that you're passionate about and then trying to balance them with things that also need to be there.
Okay, I'm going to frame this in a way that is a reparative reading.
Okay. We finally released the episode, so now everyone gets that.
I'm a certified book hater, right? We've talked about this.
Alice, when she sees a book, she just starts chewing on it.
When I do read a book, my natural inclination is, how is this going to be adapted into the movie? And more in modern times, it's become, I would love to see this as a limited run series, right? And especially with Andor that just came out, of like just something that tackled a ton of topics in a short amount of frame. When I read this book, I'm like, I don't know how you could make this into even an HBO one season, because there's so much going on without cutting content that I want to see more of. Like, I want to see the entirety of the Phoenix Ladies.
You need a
arc.
Game of Thrones length and a better quality. Also, I will just drop in, this has been optioned. That doesn't mean necessarily that we're getting a movie, but the rights have been optioned and sold.
And
books are bought for movie, the optioned, if they're popular, it happens.
Yeah, I get that impulse. I feel like, so like to come back to another thing that I mentioned earlier is the reason I started reading those Leviathan books is because they got an adaptation. Mm-hmm. Like there's a weird thing happening there where it's like, I have zero interest in the adaptation, and that is purely a taste thing. The animation does not do it for me. That is why unfortunately, although there is a visual version of it, we will not be covering it this year, much to Alice's torture. We will be reading the books instead.
I hate it here.
If it makes you feel any better, all 3 books add up to less than the length of this book.
Alice, we got you some white people light novels.
So you're saying they just need like, oh my god. Okay, I'm done. Sorry, that got me.
So I just to put that out there, but I was just gonna say I could see an adaptation of this working, but I agree with Alice. I think you'd have to basically amputate like a good third of what's going on here to make it make sense on the screen.
You would have to give it TV like we used to get. Sorry, like you would have to get a 24 episode series. Like or 24 episode season, and you would have to get multiple seasons.
Imagine if they had gotten the length and they had actually been able to like elongate some stuff.
Supernatural ran for like 15 fucking seasons. We used to be a country.
Bruh.
I would love the CW adaptation of Heavenly Tyrant.
No, the monkey's paw.
Supernatural was the worst pull. I don't know.
I know, but what I'm saying is that stories of vastly inferior have gotten long-ass seasons, and nowadays, if you read something good, your best hope is that you get a 10 episode.
We need to make a Castiel confession meme, but it's Shimin. Oh my god.
But no, I'm gonna read a section because a lot of this book I couldn't see in that visual, like frame by frame, especially throughout the next few years. We've been talking about Friends at the Table, and a lot of the language that Austin Walker uses to frame scenes is cinematic language. this was, I ran into a section that I was like, oh, this is almost written in cinematic language. And it's the section where they are breaching the Heavenly Court. They're reaching it and they're pushing to get there. It says, I am not a mortal bound to earth. I am a collection of electric signals, pure human willpower concentrated on one objective. Rise, big sister tells me, standing in the stream, E.G. and I scattered her ashes in. Rise, Zhu hisses at me, crushed inside the black tortoise. Rise, Di-Ren-Ji and Wei Zufu demand of me on a battlefield full of both flesh and metal carcasses. Rise, Ximin calls for me in a shower of light as bright as the sun. I saw that as a quick cut sequence. Like, that is written as a quick cut sequence. It is visible as a quick cut sequence. You can just see, especially the image of Ruyi standing in the river. Like, that is just a one shot, just boom. And that's just cut together. And it's like, that is when I could see an adaptation, but I feel like you said, like, it would take more work to get this to a place where I would be like happy about an adaptation.
I want to get off my hater soapbox and also read a quote from that.
into your lover bubble bath now that you've loaded it with the
I want to talk about a quote from that same section that I think hits so hard. I love this writing.
Yeah.
Those like us were not meant to be kind. We were born to rage and burn and destroy all that must be destroyed so that maybe one day much better people than us can live in a world where they're rewarded for their kindness instead of having it twisted to bind them. Banger.
And that gestures back at a conversation that Qingjin and Wu Zetian had. They had this like intimate moment after like another round of banging or whatever, or something. And Qingjin is like, I wish I was a nicer person. Like, I wish I was a kinder person.
Mm-hmm.
And like Wu Zetian is like, I also wish that I was a kinder person and that the world hadn't made me the way that I am. And like, that was a raw ass fucking moment. Anyway, can we finally talk about
Hey, here's my note. Ximin is a heavenly Terminator, quote, open parentheses, evil, close parentheses.
Yeah, so this is neat.
Talk to me about this section because I didn't know what to do with it.
I still don't know what to do with it.
It's a Marvel movie fight. That's all I can feel. It's a Marvel movie confrontation. Li Shimin is giving off 2 spirit signatures, and one of them shows up, and it's him with a bunch of fucking wires shoved on him and a mask on his face like a dog, because we've all seen webcomics. And
well, we've all seen Hannibal, which was the origin of everyone doing that in webcomics.
I'm talking to Xiran Zhao, who is listening to this, and using references that Xiran Zhao will get, okay?
Xiran Zhao was actually trying to evoke a pop mask. No kink at Pride.
This is a cool fight between them. I think it's a good culmination of Wu Zetian. Like, this whole fight is at least like, I feel it's earned that throughout the entire book, she's been working on getting better at her spirit armor, at fighting, at learning how to sword fight. And this is a natural payoff, comma.
I agree, but I think that we got the natural payoff with the Azure Dragon fight. And so this just feels like super unnecessary. Marvel is the perfect word, because my vibe is like, this feels like the thing that would happen. And that's why it's here.
Yeah.
I like what they end up doing with it, but this fight, yeah.
Yeah, to be clear, what he says here when she wastes him, by the way, it lasts like 5 seconds and she wastes him. And he says, make me whole or something. And that's the thread that we'll pull that gets us into a much, I think, better direction with Ximin.
Yeah. But it's very much like they deploy him because he is from the planet and has a spirit pressure that can match them. And that's kind of the only weapon they have against these two, which I think is a cool note.
The open question mark I had, and maybe I just missed something because I rushed to finish reading this.
It was in the parentheses.
No, I did read Brian's parentheses and your parentheses. I've read those. How is Iju on this space station for 5 months and nothing is done about this situation?
They're better at control. I
just don't understand.
They're better at control than why was like their Alice, you should be able to speak to this. Why was their entire front line just decimated with absolutely no pushback, and they were able to storm their main mothership with no consequences?
Here's what I'm gonna say.
Tell me about Des Moines, Iowa.
That the Iron Dome system can be overloaded by rockets. Nobody expected them to throw spirit metal at the Heavenly Court. The
Why
weapons
would they?
Because they're stupid. Because they're always stupid.
Is this that thing of from All You Need Is Kill where they snuck up the river and they got the town? Because no, that was in like Des Moines, Iowa too.
Same time.
It all comes back to Des Moines, Iowa, and Mad Margarita.
I wanna take because I did think of a narrative note here with these two, which is going back to our first episode. We talked about the poison jar, and it feels like they made a poison jar of a planet, and the most poisonous creatures jumped up at them. And I think that like they're so hardened because of what environment they put in, and the millions are in such a soft environment that like this is not something that they have to worry about. They can't get up here. We have drop ships. They don't. They'll never get up here. We can control them. It's a self-assuredness.
That's what I mean about like if a freedom fighter from any given part of the world that America has fucked over could get a one-way ticket to a part of America from which to try to launch a strike on the dark powers that be, and they landed in any given fucking suburb, it's going to be confusing because that's not like, it's where some dark power is concentrated. That's an HOA. It's not the dark power.
I don't know if we should call it suburbs, because what it is it is a drilling platform that the families live on. Like, this is a trade station.
Texas.
The military isn't around. They only have cop robots, for God's sake.
It's Texas, like from G Gundam.
It's Texas just like
Texas
from Giga.
colony. Anyway,
No,
so
I do feel like everything to do with what is actually on the space station is underbaked. I just feel like there's just a lot of
We're on Great
shit,
British
we
Bake
got
Off.
here.
I'm Paul Hollywood. I'm prodding it, and my finger goes straight through.
When you approach any work that has a huge climactic part that has to pay off, I always think of The Stand. I was a Stephen King girly in high school. I'm going back to The Stand. You get to the climactic part of that book, and Stephen King had no clue what to do. And so he had a magic spark set off a nuke. And now this isn't that bad. But I do feel like sometimes when you are ramping up to something, if you are not 100% of what you're going to do there. And who knows, again, third book, we don't know what it is. We could read third book and come back and be like, oh my God, this all makes sense. It was like a
My mind has been retroactively blown.
Oh my God, the Melians are like crazy powerful.
We don't have
anything
third
on
book.
Earth is possible through Jesus Christ. Like, I don't know, okay? But like,
I have to look at this book as it stands, though.
as it stands,
Yes,
right?
exactly,
You have to look
exactly.
at it, and I really do think about the fact that it's like when you build up and build up and build up to a climactic moment, if you're not ready to have it yet, find another stopping point, right? Like, find another, like, I would have been interested, like, you mentioned the poison jar stuff. I would have been interested if more of the shaman stuff seemed to gesture at the gods having given the society that did the poison jar stuff to Qingjun, and them doing it with shaman. Like, okay, we did that with different human beings. What if we did this with one human being? Can we create different versions of a human being and poison jar them? Like, if there had been any more detail to what is happening here other than we made a Terminator
I think
shaman.
what gets me is like the manipulation and use of the planet of Oichiata.
I'm gonna fucking destroy you.
So what I'm dead. Sorry, that got me. What I think is interesting about this is that we've spent so long talking about a part that is so breathless. I think we've spent more time talking about it. So they steal a ship, they blow up the station. It's whatever.
Okay.
They land back
but
on the planet.
We
Yeah.
set up a confrontation.
It's so over. We're so back. I absolutely popped when she tried to murder Qingjun.
Yes, this is the best part.
I was like, I'm so back. Here we fucking go. Like,
Let's fucking go.
Also, holy shit, he lived.
that part I'm like, man, I wish she had gotten the W there. But when she's like, so first of all, they strap the hapless liberal down and force her to watch as they obliterate the space station, which fucking rules. And then
We're creating a blue-haired pronounced super soldier.
and like the narration does this. I love this move because it does this like obfuscating maneuver where it's like Zetian like has this like moment of like weird weariness and weakness, and it seems like maybe there's something wrong with her. And then she gets up, she takes her sword out, and she stabs Qingjun in the chest. It's fucking poggers in the heart.
She knows where to aim because he trained her.
It's so good.
He
It is good.
deserved it.
Yeah, Homie, you kind of earned that one. And then Bravern happens. Did I get confused? Bravern happened a little bit. They have like the parts of the Vermillion Bird.
You find out that they keep the husks on the station, and they had the Vermillion Bird husk that they got earlier, and also, Brian.
Oh, okay. My deep fear. There's an implication
Okay, we're here.
here.
With you. Yeah.
My deep, deep fear about this is that this is going to end up being something that implies I'm not going to say it out loud. I refuse. I will only gesture at it. This hints at a potential plot twist moment with the Hunduns and the nature of how they work. That if it happens, I will be putting down the third book, regardless of where I am with it, and I will be walking away. And that is all I will say.
You were going to be walking north to Canada.
I'll be walking north to
your
Canada.
Location at speed.
Right? What I'll say is, if it's this one instance, it's beautifully written because of what character it is and what god it is. If it's anything else,
yes,
going to Canada.
Yes.
We're going to Canada. Hope everyone's got their enhanced ID because we're going to Canada, baby.
Basically, Xiran is reborn as the Vermillion Bird. He was a part of the Vermillion Bird, and
it's Bravern. I didn't even think about Bravern, but he's Bravern.
It's so good, but he doesn't speak to him. And then they have the most awkward flight home.
Yeah. Well, there's a quick exchange between they blow up the space station, they crash the mothership into the ocean, and then they have a little fight. It's whatever. Chinjung's mad. They escape on the Vermillion Bird, and then it is. Alex, you're so right. It's so awkward because it's to the nearest shore or whatever is 2 hours, and they just kind of have to sleep or something.
Literally, Yiji is you're still mad at me, right? And she's like, yeah, I'm still fucking pissed about you. And he's like, is this Xiran? And she's like, yeah, this is Xiran. I hate you.
At some point, also, we find out that there is it is up in the air at this point whether or not that surrogate pregnancy is actually going to be Zetian's child. Yija made an effort to try and see if he could maybe make it not hers. Not that it forgives the secrecy, but
a very funny through line is that Zetian, once she finds out about the insemination plot and that Iju was behind it, she insists on calling it Qingjun's and Iju's baby. She refuses to refer to it as hers. She's like, "Oh, your baby with Iju that you're having." So
oh man, we didn't even talk about the abortion scene earlier. That was great. Before they get on the yellow dragon, she reaches it and pulls out her padding, and it's I aborted it. And he's like, "Oh no, my son!
I've aborted your fucking son." Throws the padding. on the ground.
I do. Okay, I was like, what?
We wrap up with an epilogue that frames that it's from Jingjing's perspective. He gets saved by some Wuxia people that they sent up. What do they call them? They have a name.
Pilot? I don't know.
No.
Are they the tribute girls or whatever? Or yeah,
they call them the tribute girls. Save him, bring him back. He uses spirit metal to keep pumping his heart until he can have a heart surgery, which is really cool.
I'll say something about Qingjun. You can never say that this motherfucker doesn't do it. He is absolutely always motherfucking doing the damn thing at all times.
To the hill.
Okay, can I say it? He has Raiden energy. He's always doing the damn thing.
He has a whole arc where he's like, I'm not of this time. I'm obviously dying of this disease. We're going to die when we go up there. He is really ready to die. Now he's like, oh, I can live. I'm going to fucking live. So this last part is called Heavenly Con, which is cool because of what it implies. But this epilogue and the fact that he lives, I'm worried about book 3. I have a thought in my head.
I think he should have died, and specifically the reason I think he could have died is because we have plenty to fucking worry about at this point. We do not need...
Zhuge died of a cyanide capsule in one paragraph. We could have killed him.
We have the conceit getting us to the next book is that there's the now existential threat that they are travel gates in the space, and that's how people go between systems. And it'll take about 6 months for reinforcements to come through that gate. Little note, why didn't they just drive the ship over and blow up the gate?
Cutter Mike.
Cutter Mike.
Xiran's coming to you now.
Xiran is approaching you at speed.
We have a lot that we're going to deal with, but going forward. But that was Heavenly Tyrant. I kind of want to know what do you guys have any final closing thoughts on this honestly just giant tome that had so much in it?
It's not even a giant tome. It's a giant tome spiritually. It's a normal tome normally. Like
it's really,
it's just like a normal book. But
this was a very quick read.
yeah, again, the pacing is crazy. Here's what I'll say. We had a lot of critical stuff to say, and we had a lot of, I think that this is coming from a place of, like, we discussed this on the helicopter episode, queer works can get over-examined, whatever. I don't think ours is coming from a place of, like, wanting to tear something down. I think legitimately, at least for my part, I was captivated by the mess. Like, it's honestly, to bring it full circle, this is a circular podcast. Y'all didn't notice it's a circular narrative. This book was an insane buffet. And I walked in there and said, what the fuck do you mean they're serving enchiladas next to pho, next to whatever? There's a lot fucking going on, and every moment of it, I wanted to go back for more, just I couldn't fit it in my fucking tummy, okay? That's how I felt about this
And for
book.
my final thought, too, I will say, like, you know, we come on this show and we're just, like, dumb little queers on the internet with opinions, and, like, we've had some conversations in the Discord before about, like, the impulse to, like, take criticism towards, like, something in the genre space that, like, you really identify with, what my words are defaulting to is, like, as a personal attack. I think that's kind of like a rote sentiment. I think we've all talked about that before. What I really want to get at is, like, hater episodes can have, like, these, like, shitty rancid vibes, and, like, that's not what I want to come on here and do. And, like, that's why at the very beginning of the episode, I, like, came on and I said, hey, there's a dark shadow on the horizon. That's because, like, I had a lot of, like, there was a lot of in the latter half of this book that missed for me, but it's like, I also have to come on here and, like, that's the conceit of the show. Like, I'm about to come on here when Alice prompts me and tell you that the book was a damn 10. Because the Mechs were a damn 10, because everything the book did with Mechs was absolutely perfect. I have no notes on literally any of that stuff. But I also have to be like, this is the Mechs and their stories. And to me, the Mechs, the story part of this, I just have to be honest and say, like, there a lot of it I, like, was sad, and it made me sad, and I didn't like it. And, like, sometimes you don't like stuff, and that's okay. And that's why we have Alice here, who likes everything except for books, and that's why it's extremely powerful that she's coming online to defend the last half of this one.
Oh my god, the unlikely ally of the book.
The unlikely allius.
You're
of
like the
book.
Vegeta to this book.
No, here's what I'll say. Like, it's not even that I joke a lot about not reading books and hating books and everything. But, like, I read
Alice
books.
has given me book recommendations. I have books on my hold list that Alice told me about.
Alice has asked me to read books for her and tell me what I think of them before she reads them before.
That's real.
Alice is reading in dimensions you don't even know about yet.
So when I come to this and I'm like, I love this. I do love this as a book reader. I might not be a writer, but I think I want to echo what Brian said, that is some part I was sad. But my sadness was more from a yearning for what I wanted out of this. And I had to recontextualize for myself that this is Wu Zetian's story, and I'm hearing this through her voice. And I kind of like it that way. Like, as long as I can just be like, this is just a crazy peasant girl who became empress, and I'm along for the ride. But I also, you know, my bar is so low. Like, am I upset that the Mellians are, like, the most milquetoast metaphor ever? Yeah, I'm kind of sad about that. Am I also holding deeply to exactly one paragraph where one woman pushes another against a wall in a Warring Era tunnel and kisses her?
1000%.
1000%! Because, yes, it's the Mechs and the stories, but my bar for the stories is so low that I love it. So Brian evoked it, and we've got to do it. We've got to rate these goddamn Mechs. So
Can I just say real quick, I love that suggestion of a Watsonian reading where any part of the book that you felt wasn't very fleshed out or very good was because Wu Zetian didn't give a shit about it. Actually, these books are perfect. Wu Zetian's just kind of a dipshit.
that's
my official stance now on this book.
The OSG official stance is that real historical Wu Zetian was kind of a dipshit. I'm just kidding.
Feminism loss.
Shut the fuck up. We've been at this too long. We have to rate these goddamn mechs.
Okay.
So, we have a ton in this. It's the yellow dragon, nine-tailed fox, the white tiger, the Azure Dragon, whale bird, plum blossom deer, and the Vermillion Bird. I didn't count the hive queen because that's just a ship. So I'll start up front. This only improved on what the first book did. The chrysalises get so much more depth. Learning from Qingjing that they're all just, because people can't form anything other than things that they can imagine, and how they start to interpolate with, like, how you use spirit metal. Like, we didn't touch on it, but they use the spirit metal of the long-ass golden dragon as fuel to burn it in its trajectory, which is why so small of it remains. Stuff like that is amazing. But what even makes it more amazing is the fucking rebirth of the Vermillion Bird. I'm sitting in that now. I don't know what's going to happen with that plotline, but in this moment, I am so fucking stoked for what this says about spirit metal, mech piloting. And then, I cried because a 13-year-old girl died in this. Generally, when I see that in anime, it's just normal. I'm watching Puella Modoko Magica, So, it's a 10 out of 10, baby. It couldn't have been nothing else. Brian? I think we know, but...
Yeah, I said last recording that this was going to be a 10 because we're in the year in the shell, and we had that quote about always piloting does he say shell? Or he says vessel. He says vessel. All that stuff is still true. I remember one of my core memories about Iron Widow was I remember coming on the show and being like, for all the... to be clear... the major issue that I had with that book was the publisher enforced pacing due to constraints on the plot. And I remember saying all of that stuff, whatever, but also all the stuff that's happening too much too fast is so cool. I can't sit down and be like, harumph. I kind of feel the same way. The Azure Dragon versus the Yellow Dragon battle at the end was that is a all-time mech fight. Jonathan Durham and I talked on the Stories from Soul episode about kind of what makes a good mech fight, and we talked a little bit about how a lot of action in modern media ends up being there because we like to watch and it's entertaining, but ultimately in terms of where it is in the narrative, it is just kind of incidental. The cool knife flippy fight from the Winter Soldier, the plot bends itself into pretzels just so they're on the same street corner at that moment so they can have a cool knife fight. You know what I mean? That is a different thing from the Gundam ass thing that's happening here, where these people have met on the battlefield before. There is a long running war story happening here. There is a conflict at the heart of this community that is driving these people towards these ends. And there is a unspeakable tragedy that unfolds from that circumstance. And I'm trying to think, this the last G-Clux episode will be out by the time this comes out. So we talked in that about of course, obviously at length, Lala Soon's death. Sorry, spoilers for Nico. Lala Soon is famously, spoilers for anyone on the internet who hasn't heard the sentence, when Lala Soon died that one time. That stuff is just, it can be so beautiful. And one of the things that anime can do is it can make it visually beautiful as well as narratologically beautiful. I think that this book does something really incredible with that sequence where it is, even though it's theater of the mind, it still ends up being visually stunning because of all of the concepts that are at play. The fact that she's welding the two units together, getting out of her cockpit. They're at 30,000 feet. Just the feats of superhuman strength at these moments of extreme emotional tension and the consequences that unfold from that are mecha. I've long said that Xiran Zhao completely understands that as the core of what makes a good mech fight, and that is so at play here. So this is just an absolute 10, even if just from a taste standpoint, none of the stuff after that hit for me. This
is where our method pays off, right? Because we've talked about however we feel about the story. Synduality Noir. However you feel about the story, sometimes you just got to be the mechs, those are good. Those are good mechs. And I got to say, for all the reservations and the hesitations and I wish this had been a different way or whatever, the things that this book does with a metaphysics of spirit metal and a metaphysics of chi and a metaphysics of how these things work. Like, we gave the first book a 10 out of 10, and then this book came in with a person who has a lost knowledge of the utter mutability of form in a way that Wu Zetian learns to mold spirit metal better by doing pottery. That's not something we touched on, but that is just a fact of a thing in this book to help her physically and mentally understand how to mold and cut and craft spirit metal. She takes up pottery, and it does help her. Like, it was a 10 in the first book, and now they've added these new dimensions, and the rules are so well established about how these mechs functioned that when you see Wei Zufu piloting alone, your gut sinks. And when she says that Dee was dead the moment she disconnected, I went, oh God, of course he was. Because I know how the rules of these mechs work. And for me, it has total verisimilitude. I was totally bought in on how all of this functions, on how all of this works, on the costs, and on how this stuff plays out. And like, yeah, the whole ascent to heaven and burning the pieces of the yellow dragon, like all of it. It's a 10 out of 10. It's just good mechs. Good mechs in the book. A lot of stuff in the book, but good mechs in the book.
If you're new to the podcast, Iron Widow was our first unanimous 10 on the podcast. So the fact that Heavenly Tyrant is following up with another Hyakushiki, Xiran J. Zhao, the first one to win Hyakushiki, also the first person to have 2 Hyakushikis on the podcast. There's a W there, regardless of what we have to say about the plot.
Even if the whale bird has yet to get a W,
yes.
there is a W.
And again, you can request me to send those to you. It is just a Hakushiki model that I spray painted gold, but you now can get 2 of those. So reach out, Xiran J. Zhao. I will send it to you. So with that, we are going to head to the break and then play another little silly little game.
Hey guys, Alice here. Thanks for listening to On the Shoulders of Giants. We're really happy you're here, but if you know anybody who might be interested, we'd love if you share our work with them. If you are enjoying what we're doing, maybe send us a message, or what would really help us out is if you leave a review online. Really, a lot of the algorithms will push people down if they don't have reviews, so it really helps if you just go and write something on the internet. Heck, we might even read one on the podcast if it's really nice and makes our hearts go doki doki. So if you could do that, maybe do it, and thanks again for listening. Now, back to the show.
I have a game for all of you, and this time, I'm doing it. I'm deploying a Nico grade U quiz on you both.
Oh, Jesus, an in-grade U quiz?
So, this game is called the Populist Party Planning Committee. Oh no! It looks like the ruling class of the fictional country that the On the Shoulders of Giants cinematic universe is set in, Nippon, has pushed their boot down a little too hard, and the working common folk are fed up. Sidebar, I think for the lore of the narrative that we're doing for this, I think we need to be set in the fictional country of Nippon, and that's not the Japanese, how they refer to their country. The full English spelling Nippon, and that's it, is the country we're set in, okay? So, I didn't hear any dissent, so that's in the canon. Okay. Luckily, us 3 pilots of On the Show... Oh, sorry. Yeah?
This is not a visual medium. I need everyone to know that Nico was in frame making an incredulous face at Alice dropping the Nippon on us, and then no change in the face. From out of frame, she holds up a string cheese, takes a bite out of it wholesale from the top like a barbarian, lowers it back down off screen. Still the same resigned face. Absolutely no character break whatsoever.
It was beautiful. It kept me in focus as I was trying to ramble.
I didn't want to disrupt it with my cheese.
much like the celebrated novel Heavenly Tyrant by Xiran Zhao, this podcast has fallen apart in the last hour completely.
Shut the fuck up.
This podcast is suffering from material conditions.
I wrote narrative, let me get through it.
Okay. Sorry.
Luckily, us 3 pilots of On the Shoulders of Giants are perfectly suited to lead society into a glorious new age. After all, mech pilots are the coolest, sexiest, and smartest people around. Emperor Brian and Empress Nico, you must lead the glorious revolution. You must fix the injustices of the world. After all, isn't that basically the entire motivating factor of every mecha pilot ever? You will both go through a series of questions about decisions to be made during the revolution. Your answers will be used to calculate 2 things. Number 1, what chrysalises of the 4 heavenly beasts your balanced pair will be piloting as rulers, and it will also determine if the revolution fails or succeeds.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, that tracks.
Now, you might be asking, Alice, the strongest shape is a triangle. Where will you be for all of this? Well, unfortunately, this one is on you too. I will be donning my housemaid outfit and doing my job dutifully as the secretary. Editor's note here, the decisions that the 2 will be making are all based on real-life populist, socialist, or Marxist revolutions. Hopefully I picked ones... Marxist revolutions. Hopefully I picked ones that you guys don't know. Guys ready to jump into this revolution?
Bri, we're about to own this fool.
You are. I just feel like Nico, the nonfiction audiobook listener, has logged on. You people don't know how much woodworking this bitch has been doing. Alice should be fearing for her life.
Here's the thing, though. I've reframed them into the cinematic universe of On the Shoulders of Giants, so hopefully they're a little too hard to pick out for you.
Okay.
But I do just want to say this is an open ad. My very brave spouse is a platonic spouse. If you want me to be your dad, because I listen to a lot of books on the Cold War and I do woodworking, that's understandable. If you want me to be more, well, I'm always here.
She's got a big dragon.
What the fuck?
I've got a dragon of commendable size. Sorry, Brian, I have to shoot my shot because you just owned my ass by bringing up my string cheese.
I just want to say that this podcast is pressing 3 hours and you're putting out a singles ad in the last half hour?
Yeah, and that is a statement that just tracks logically between sections of it. It's hot. Call
Question
me.
number 1. Redress our grievances. The provisional government, who has come to power after the coup, is failing to respond to the issues that workers, peasants, and soldiers... and soldiers...
the shoulders we stand on.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys can't keep getting me on every slip up or we will be here for another hour.
Sorry.
Okay? And soldiers had with the affairs of Nippon. As we are trying to have this be a bloodless revolution, we need to direct our collective action in a way to best destabilize the regime. How should we do it? Number 1, publish pamphlets and material. If people read our grievances and remedies, they'll see just how much sense it makes. Option 2, organize workers' strikes. Collective bargaining in the workplace will grind the economy to a halt until our demands are met. Option 3, screw that! Blood-filled revolution. We can't convince our enemies as they will not willingly give up their means of power. Which of these 3 will you, the Emperor and Empress of Nippon, choose?
Important factor, what's the literacy rate in Nippon?
What do you think the literacy rate of our listeners is?
Hey, listeners, write in if you're illiterate.
You're eating cheese! In front of me, a vegan?
It's low-fat string cheese. It's basically not even cheese.
Alice, open quote, I have eaten potato salad into the microphone on this podcast. Last name.
There's pasta salad downstairs. Do not tempt me.
Brian, what are you feeling? I'm
3.
thinking we either go bloody. Let's go bloody. 3.
Okay. Question 2. You can just take the guns? After the military failed a launched coup and weren't punished by the state afterwards, it's obvious that they don't have the power to oppose our revolution. A few revolutionary groups have already seized state weapon depots and commandeered their mechs. What's next? Option 1. Collectivize the economy. From the hairdressers to the banks, the workers must control their places of work. The government must recognize us then. Option 2. Communes. Communes everywhere. Just a whole bunch of individual groups and organizations managing their own local actions. This will make us true communists. Option 3. March a subset of the militia to the capital. We will not be seen as legitimate until we hold the symbolic center of power. Which of these options is best for the revolution?
Well, from what I recall, the management of land use and land rights is like a major failure point for a lot of communist regimes, so I don't think we make a bunch of communes. Honestly, we may need to march on the capital. Yeah, I mean, I think that was, we have the Mechs, so I feel like we got to march on the capital, right?
You seized Mechs, yeah.
You were marching on the, 3 again.
Okay, 3. I'm glad that we're cooing in such, we're doing a revolution in such a cool way.
Question 3. The long haul. Look, I'll be honest, this will be decades of struggle ahead of us, and after a whole century of humiliation, we have to plan some decisive strikes. We'll be launching the forces of the Podcast Liberation Army in 3 separate strikes. Which should we complete first?
First merch is the Podcast Liberation Army merch.
Yeah.
Option 1. Siege the largest commercial hub city. If we take that, even if hundreds of thousands of innocents die, that will make us a legitimate mecha-led pilot revolution. Option 2. A surprise attack of our best forces right into the heart of the enemy. By cutting the snake from the head, we will show that our skills as pilots are worth ruling over Nippon. Option 3. Cross the natural boundaries stopping us. We will never win if we don't ford the river and get Mechs to free the nationalist peasants. Which of these is the best option for the revolution?
What was 2 again?
A surprise attack of our best forces. By cutting off the head of the enemy, we're going to show our skill as pilots.
I kind of think 1 or 3. Leaning more 3 because more Mechs. Nobody's ever said more Mechs, more problems. That's never been a thing.
I mean,
it might be us to say it for the first time. If
I've never seen Endless Waltz. Yeah. I've never heard anyone say more Mechs, more problems.
You know what? I'm down to keep the 3 streak going. I think we need to liberate the peasants. Again, issues around management of the countryside have been the thorn in the side of a lot of socialist regimes. But
we do the G-Quacks. We take out the VHS that says weapons, and we put the VHS in that says farming, and now they can only be used to like till and shit.
But see, that's why.
Okay, I'm down.
It's good because Brian grew up a rich scholar in the city, and you are a young peasant girl, so you'll be able to bridge that gap. Empress.
That's true. I am a peasant.
Right. Question 4. Conventional warfare. With the world around us destabilized by non-nuclear World War V, the powers jockeying for position on the world stage are looking to involve themselves in conflicts such as ours as a way to extend their spheres of influence. Some have reached out and offered up some ideas of how they could help us with our revolution. Which of these ideas should we go with? Option 1. The children are at risk. We should repatriate them to allied countries with sympathetic leaders. They can also be re-educated and unbrainwashed, bringing them to our cause. Option 2, merge with another group that has slightly different ideals than us, that we fucking hate so fucking much for not understanding that meat mechs are mechs to overpower the regime. Or 3, launch a propaganda campaign to paint our enemy in a light that their allies will abandon them. Perhaps stories about them stealing at-risk children and repatriating them. Which of these is the best option for the revolution?
We don't have a Vietnam option. We don't have a just resist and resist and resist until they spend the might of their imperial power and break on our shores.
I think based on Nika's face journey, we should do the Coney 2012 thing of the first one.
All right, Coney 2012. I can't believe we've got all option 3s, but I mean, they're just the good options.
The what? All right. You can't deal with those fucking leftists not believing mechs that are made of meat are mechs. Okay.
We're doing leftist infighting right now.
Right. It's about meat mechs.
Leftist infighting is when you don't believe Attack on Titan is a mech show.
Oh.
I every like 20 episodes I mentioned that Attack on Titan is a mech show.
It's the constant threat, even more than Appleseed, if we're being honest. Question number 5. Counter-revolutionary woes. Uh-oh! The 6 nations around us have unified to stop our populist uprise. They fear the success of our movement will inspire the same amount of dissent in their countries. After all, they have much to fear. The people truly hold the power and only need to be shown the way. One of the other nations has funded and armed former nationalist forces and deployed them in guerrilla warfare against our state. What should we do? Option 1. Launch into total war footing. We must enlist everyone who can fight, arm them, and ensure that no one can oppose our new populous state without spending a massive cost. Option 2. Continue and show our legitimacy through an election. If the people's voices are heard through a popular vote, then we will have evidence that the people are with us. Option 3. Scorched earth counterinsurgency. We must punish any collaborators and anti-revolutionary sentiment. Give them nothing to hide from the light of our glorious revolution. Which of these is the best option?
In this case, I think the Vietnam option is 1, so I'm down for 1 if you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time to get everyone some weapons training.
The nom option. The noption.
The noption. There's always the noption.
That's what they should have called the notion in Friends at the Table.
No, I was about to say, in the mech that we all podcast out of, there's the big dial of geopolitical conflict, and right next to it is the big rocker switch of the noption. That's all that's on our dashboard right now. It's like the setup in Bravern where he just gives him one switch at a time.
Except in Bravern, the noption is napalm.
Whiskey Pete.
Or nipple stuff.
Question 6.
We can make it through this.
An attempt at a civil war. In a desperate last-ditch attempt, the counter-revolutionaries have launched an attack with exiled nationalists and are invading our populous state. They're trying to kill the revolution in its crib. What should we do? Option 1. Simply retreat to safety. They have no chance. The commoners will not allow themselves to be sent back to their old way of life under the thumb of oppression. Option 2. Encircle and surround them. We will launch a decisive strike led by our glorious Empress and Emperor. We must kill the counter-revolution in the crib. Option 3. Appeal to the counter-revolutionaries. These are our brothers who have been lied to. We must see them as legitimate and negotiate with them. Which of these options will help the revolution the most?
Brian, what are you thinking?
I think it might be too late to do the negotiating one.
Yeah, I agree. But I also think if we depend on people to not bend to the will of whoever has the biggest gun, that's it's putting a lot of faith in some people who might just need to like preserve their land and their corn and stuff. I think our option here might be 2.
Yeah, I think it's 2.
Okay. Question 7 is a special kind of question. What kind of question is it, Brian?
Bonus question.
Oh, that was a beautiful effort. I love it.
We've got to mix up the genre, you know, guys. We got to mix it up. Okay.
The genre of Alice saying bonus?
Sometimes you gotta do it.
Memes are the DNA of the soul.
Our revolution is nearing its peak, so that even if On the Shoulders of Giants stops making its wonderful mecha content, the revolution will outlive us. How should we put the finishing touches on our new populist empire? Option 1. We must rule wisely and benevolently. As the pilots leading our society, we should be powerful protectors of the people. Option 2. We must rule through joy and warmth. Our people should now live under the sun and express themselves unabated. Option 3. We must rule martially and courageously. As pilot emperors, we must show that those who serve the collective are rewarded in kind. Or option 4. We must rule patiently and be stable. There's been so much chaos and uncertainty, we must have an empire that lasts 10,000 years. Which of these is the best option for the revolution?
First of all, 10,000 upon 10,000 years. May our empire last 10,000 upon 10,000 years. Brian, what are you feeling? Joy, patience, martial prowess.
Can I get
whatever the
option
first
2 one
was.
more time?
I'm just gonna post these in here because
Okay.
Thank you, Queen.
I wrote words for this, but I'm not showing you the U quiz yet.
Okay, wisely and benevolently, joy and warmth, martially and courageously, patiently and stability. Patiently and stable.
I like 2.
I do too. Let's listen.
Let's all chill.
Bread for all and roses too.
Weed. Everyone smoke a blunt.
Bread for all and weed too.
All right, I'm finishing up your spirit pressure readings over here, and
Oh God, I've been
All right.
upside down on this table so long.
congratulations, Empress and Emperor. You will be piloting the Vermillion Bird.
Let's go!
Congratulations. Truly, you will be ruling through joy and warmth All right. We're going to circle back real quick and go through these questions. So question 1, redress our grievances. This was about the October Revolution in Russia in October 1917. This was a successful revolution. The correct answer on this one was organize the workers' strikes. This is the basis of the revolution and why the Bolsheviks won.
Yeah,
Question
we
number
decided
2
to do murder.
is about the Summer of Anarchy, or the Spanish Civil War in Spain, 1936. This was a failed Marxist revolution. Unfortunately, the Black and Reds were not able to destabilize the nationalists. The correct for them, but wrong for socialism answer was to march a subset of the militia to the capital. Unfortunately, when the Black and Reds did that, they were decimated and never reestablished their base.
Bro, George Orwell wrote a nonfiction book about his experience in that fucking war. That book traumatized me a little bit.
We can't get into the whole George Orwell during that Spanish, but that book is great. High
I
recommend.
need to read it. I don't know enough about the Spanish attempted revolutions and Civil War. Like, I know a little bit on the periphery, but not a
He
lot.
dives into commune living, a collectivist society, anarchist communities, because he lived within them in the small time that they were able to have that in the countryside. Anyway, question 3 was about the 3 campaigns in China. This was part of the long Chinese struggle for its communist independence under Japanese occupation, ending up in their war for independence with the PLA against the nationalist forces that ruled China at the time. This was a successful revolution. The Chinese state is still communist to this day. The correct answer on this was to siege the largest commercial hub city. Basically, by unifying the northeast of the country, which was where the majority of the city population lived, they were able to solidify their power base. Question 4 was about the communist revolution in Greece in 1947, which was also a failed revolution. The correct answer for this, and what kind of led to them failing, is that they took children, repatriated them to Soviet states for re-education, and this destabilized their entire movement. They were painted as villains because of it, and honestly, it was villainous what they did.
That is an insane fucking thing to do.
It's an insane maneuver.
There was... Unfortunately, the monarchy of Greece also had re-education camps, so everybody's terrible. Question 5. This was about the Contras in Nicaragua. So if you don't know anything about Iran-Contra and what Reagan did in South America, basically funded anti-revolutionaries, aka the Contras, and this was a successful action by the revolutionaries because we were able to beat back the Contras. The correct answer on this was through the election. By winning the election in 1984, they solidified their base with over 60% of the vote for their candidate. So kind of just ushered in that era. This was also tied with, the United States pulling support, blah, blah, blah. Question 6. This was just the Bay of Pigs. Pretty easy. This was Cuba, 1961. This was a failure, but for capitalists. The correct answer on this was to encircle and surround them. It was a failed invasion because the U.S. pulled out, but also because they just never got a good foothold. They didn't have enough manpower. If you didn't know, Fidel drove a fucking tank down and shot at a boat himself, which is why I evoked the Empress and the Emperor going down and fighting for themselves. I thought it was a pretty good, representation of what happened on the Han frontier. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Very Bay of Pigs
When
move.
we got Fidel Castro to drive down.
And then the bonus question, this was just a general feeler question just based on the 4 heavenly figures, the 4 heavenly gods. So pretty easy. If you know them, you know them. There was one last question, which I was also calculating, which is if the revolution fails or succeeds. Are you ready for your answer on that one?
I think we failed it.
I can't tell you that because I can't decide that. Only the people can decide if the revolution succeeds or fails. All of us have to stand up in our own homes, organize with our friends, and stand against injustice when we see it. So the revolution will succeed if we continue that fight. And that was the game!
That was beautiful.
I'm glad we all learned stuff. I'm glad I put out a personals ad. I'm glad that we had a call to action about getting involved in your community. Hey, this is why I did the vote for the school board election. All elections are important. Not that electoralism is the point of this, but hey, Do what you can.
Do what you can.
We got some Flash's transmission.
Oh, guys, I think one of the strategists is calling us through the chrysalis. We should probably answer. Oh, no. Shit, another message from the gods.
It's your boy Kong Ming.
It's your boy Kong Ming. Nico, do you want to read this one for us?
Yeah. It says, "Hello, folks. I started listening to OSG after catching my friend Iris on your standalone Complex episodes and have been enjoying my trip through the backlog. Having just finished your Heaven Will Be Mine app, I have a recommendation for another visual novel you would really dig. Coquette Dragoon by Ivy May. It hits a lot of the same sweet spots and doesn't pull its punches at strategic moments. I think you will all have a lot to talk about. Best, Blue, who is at Blue Delaquanti, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
.bsky.social.
Scotial.
Social.
I mean, we love suggestions like this, and especially like visual novels. They're nice for us to just like chomp into. We've got the rest of the year pretty much planned, but this is one we can add to our list for planning like 2026.
You know, the funny part is I forgot the name of this, but I had seen some art of this way back in like early alphas, and I was like, oh, that's cute. I'll circle back when it's out. And it's made a lot of development since then. It's this cute little Nekomimi characters, furry characters, piloting mechas. The main character is the most stressed bunny girl ever, and I love her. The art style is just so adorable.
It's really cute.
I did buy chapter 1 or the first part because it's on itch.io for like $15. Hey guys, buy things on itch.io. Support creators. Unfortunately, they did
you
just.
can.
You'll never guess. 4 days ago, they just had to do an update and remove some art. That's fucked up, and I hate it. So, but no, I want to cover this. It does seem to hit a lot of the vibes. One of the pictures on itch.io is just hand the bunny girl a gun, and that's pretty great.
Yeah, I think more rabbits would be less stressed if they had more guns.
Also, just real quick, shout outs to Blue, who wrote this. They're an artist. They do a webcomic called Oh Human Star. Alistair Sterling was the inventor who sparked the robot revolution, and because of his sudden death, he didn't see any of it. That is, until he wakes up 16 years later in a robot body that matches his old one exactly. Until he steps outside and finds a world utterly unlike the one he left behind, a world where robots live alongside their human neighbors and coexist in their cities, a world he helped create. Now Al must track down his old partner and find out who is responsible for his unexpected resurrection, but their reunion raises even more questions.
Hell yeah.
That sounds fucking cool.
Yeah.
Also, the art just looks
Robots.
incredible. Shouts to them.
All right. Well, with that brief missive, we do have another. It's coming via video. Alice, if you would open our DMs, the last thing I sent you is the link we'll need. If you would load that and share your screen because you have a more stable internet connection than I do, that would be great. So, scribe of the show Ghost, felt we needed some encouragement, just wanted to make sure we felt appreciated and we had the leadership and guidance we needed, having finished like 2 years of the podcast and like heading into our third one. So Ghost reached out to possibly the only figure that could really lead us in these troubled times. And from them, we have received a missive. So Alice, if you want to share that.
Yeah, let me share my screen and I will hit play on whatever this.
Well. I hear it's the second anniversary of On the Shoulders of Giants. I'm the boss. There can only be one boss and one, podcast. Let me tell you something. I know everyone loves me, but I wanted to congratulate you because you finished your mission. You did. Would you agree? Yes, she would. Because there's no such thing as luck on the battlefield, but you know that, right? My official stance is beyond the basics of CQC, and let me just tell you right now, the only thing we can believe in with absolute certainty, Nico, is that you don't always have to MILF that thing. Do you understand? There's one boss and one snake. You get my drift. Okay, here is to year 3 of the podcast. Loyalty to the end, my friends. Loyalty to the end.
So can we are we allowed to put that on the show though?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we can because we were gifted it. I'll check with Ghost on the permissions for clipping it because I really want the boss saying MILF that thing like really badly as a drop. But Ghost sent this to me like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, I will figure out how to get you reactions to this. And so in Minnesota, I had Alice watch this and filmed Alice reacting to it. And I said, how am I going to get Brian? I could ask Kyle, but I don't know that I would. I would get the results I was looking for. Let's just do it live on pod. So yes, Ghost asked the voice of the boss to give us a message of encouragement, and I think it was beautiful.
Brian.
How you feeling, Brian?
I am literally speechless right now.
Brian has their head in their hands. I've had time to come to terms with what I've seen. And yet, it still hurt. I love you so much, Ghost. I love you so much. I love the boss so much. I did cry. I'm crying still.
I am glassy-eyed.
It was so worth it. So what's funny to me, so Ghost sent this to me, and I was like, oh, that's cute, because I have not been obsessed with Metal Gear like my whole life. And then it very rapidly hit me that this was going to hit you two like a freight train, which is when I started coordinating live reacts for Ghost. So yeah, that is Lori Allen. Lori Allen is available on Cameo if you also need words of encouragement from the boss. Her rates are very reasonable. I was like, this video is beautiful. I want to show it to my friends immediately. Let's figure out how to do this. And the reactions were worth it. Obviously, this is not a visual medium. Oh boy, were they popping.
I just need people to know that she made sure that there were pictures of the boss behind her. She held up one of the OG boss figurines during one of it.
Did.
God, when she said
my brain, all
this
this in my brain is the Apple rainbow symbol. Like I am processing.
Brian is not ever going to financially recover from this. And you know what? I knew it. And I'm glad, and it's beautiful. And thank you, Alice, for using your stable internet to make sure it didn't get fucked up. That was beautiful.
I'm gonna do year 3 for her.
Yeah, we're doing year 3 for the boss.
She gave that was a will that was unmisinterpretable.
I think we can all understand what she sort of wanted for the podcast in year 3.
We can't. That is a statement that is impossible to fracture over.
I can't wait till this podcast splinters into 3 faction groups based on interpreting that cameo.
Do you know what? Here's the thing. Here's what I want to say, and I told Nico this, and I told Ghost this. My horrifying fear that because Lori Allen got this, she might have looked up what we do. And I'm so scared. I want her to love me so much.
Hey, I think we honored the legacy of the boss.
We honored Alice, you and I honored the legacy of the boss. Nico was a necessary hater on that episode, but also none of us had anything bad to say about her performance as the boss. I think the boss was something that we all were able to sit around the campfire and say, this is our special rotten soldier we will treasure forever. Here lies a patriot.
Here lies a patriot. We need the Lori Allen right now. Okay.
This is beautiful. Thank you very much to Lori Allen. Thank you very much to Ghost.
Thank you, Ghost.
Just a truly special thing.
Thank you so much, Ghost. Thank you, everybody.
All right, that was my surprise for the episode.
Yeah.
Brian's fanning himself.
I'm still sweating. I had to close that window because her looking at me with those pure eyes. And that's this episode of On the Shoulders of Giants, where we discussed Heavenly Tyrant Part 2. Any parting thoughts?
It's always ethical to rob the wealthy.
I love that line. Brian? Brian's fried.
I'm fucking cooked, you guys. I literally had a thing about like the what is her fucking name? Their fucking name, the alien white person. I had a whole thing about their little
Helon or whatever.
Yeah, their like weird ni hao thing that they did. I had a whole quote about like who is the face of the colonizer, blah 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 blah.
Gone.
It's gone.
I obliterated it from your brain with the cameo from Ghost.
Thanks for listening. Pilots, remember, you can reach out for advice from the team at our email, questions@osgpod.com, and non-pilots can send general questions or feedback to the same address. You can also catch up with us on social media. Links are in the description for updates and more. You'll also find a link to the short show Discord there. Come and hang out. Make sure to check back in 2 weeks where we'll be discussing Ghost in the Shell, Standalone Complex, Second Gig, Part 2 with Iris J. Until then, as long as the yoke of power remains in the hands of profitizers, any concessions won by the laboring class can be taken away. And I love you.
Goodbye. I love you.
You two are the worst mistake in my life.
So far.
So far.
Thank